Whispering Shadows, Chapter 1. The fog clung to the cobblestones like a reluctant memory, whispering secrets as Selene moved through the city's labyrinthine streets. Her footsteps echoed softly, a rhythmic counterpoint to the distant tolling of a bell that seemed to call out from another time. The city, with its gnarled trees and Gothic spires, was both her sanctuary and her prison, a place where the boundaries between the living and the spectral were as thin as the mist that shrouded it. Selene paused beneath a flickering lantern, its glow casting elongated shadows that danced like specters on the walls. She closed her eyes, letting the murmurs of the past wash over her. In this city, every stone held a story. Every breeze carried a whisper of those who had walked here before. It was here that she sought answers, driven by a compulsion that gnawed at her soul. "Selene," a voice called from the shadows, smooth and familiar. "Elias," she replied, opening her eyes to see him step into the dim light. His presence was both comforting and unsettling, a reminder of the duality that defined her world. Elias Thorne, the keeper of the forgotten, was as much a part of this city as its cobblestones and mist. "You seem troubled," he observed, his gaze steady and penetrating. "Am I ever not?" She countered, a wry smile tugging at her lips. "This place, it's alive with echoes. They pull at me." Elias nodded, his expression thoughtful. "The city remembers. Every soul that has passed through leaves an imprint. But it's not just the past you hear, is it?" "No," Selene admitted. "It's something more. A yearning, perhaps. An unanswered question." "Perhaps it's time you sought answers elsewhere," Elias suggested, his tone gentle yet firm. "There are other places in this city that might hold what you seek." Selene hesitated, then nodded. "The library," she decided. "Eamon might have insights." Elias's smile was enigmatic. He always did enjoy a good puzzle. As they made their way to the ancient library, Selene felt the weight of her quest settle more heavily upon her shoulders. Each encounter, each spirit she communed with, left her with more questions than answers. Yet she pressed on, driven by an insatiable desire for truth and connection. The library loomed ahead, its facade adorned with ornate ironwork that seemed to writhe in the lantern light. Inside, rows of dusty tomes stretched into shadowy alcoves, a sanctuary for those who sought knowledge beyond the veil. "Ammon," Selene called softly as they entered. A faint shimmer coalesced into form among the stacks, a figure with an air of perpetual curiosity and an intellect as sharp as any blade. Eamon's spectral presence was both reassuring and disconcerting, blurring the line between reality and the supernatural. "Selene," he greeted, his voice echoing softly in the vast space. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" "I need your counsel," Selene confessed. "The spirits, they speak in riddles!" Eamon chuckled, a sound like rustling pages. "As they often do. What troubles you?" "There's a pattern," she said slowly, choosing her words with care. "A thread that connects them all, yet I can't grasp it." Eamon's gaze grew distant, thoughtful. "Patterns are often woven from threads we cannot see. Perhaps you're looking in the wrong places." Selene frowned. "Then where should I look?" "Within," Eamon suggested gently. "The answers you seek may not be found in books or whispers, but in your own heart." Selene sighed, frustration edging her voice. "Is it wrong to want more than whispers? To crave something tangible?" Eamon's smile was wistful. "Not wrong, no. But remember, Selene, sometimes the most profound truths are those we cannot touch." Their conversation drifted into silence, punctuated only by the occasional creak of settling wood and the distant hum of spectral energy that seemed to permeate the library's walls. Elias watched them both with quiet intensity, his role as mentor and guide never more apparent than in these moments of introspection and revelation. "You walk a fine line," he reminded Selene softly, "between justice and vengeance, between seeking truth and becoming lost in it." "I know," she replied quietly. "But what else can I do?" "Trust yourself," Elias advised, "and trust those who walk this path with you." Selene nodded slowly, feeling the weight of his words settle into her bones like an undeniable truth. As she left the library with Elias by her side, Selene felt a renewed sense of purpose, an understanding that while her journey was fraught with uncertainty and moral ambiguity, it was also one of profound discovery. Yet, even as they stepped back into the fog-shrouded streets, a new tension lingered in the air, a reminder that her quest was far from over, and that every shadow held both danger and promise. The city whispered around them as they walked, a symphony of echoes from the past mingling with present uncertainties. And Selene knew that whatever lay ahead would test not only her resolve, but also her very understanding of love, justice, and what it meant to be truly connected in a world where life and death danced eternally at the edge of perception. With each step forward into the unknown, Selene embraced both fear and hope, her path illuminated by moonlight filtering through haze, a silvery promise guiding her through darkness toward whatever truths awaited beyond this city's haunted embrace. Chapter 2. The cobblestones beneath Selene's feet whispered their secrets as she navigated the labyrinthine streets of the shadowy city. The fog clung to her like a shroud, obscuring her vision and lending an otherworldly glow to the lanterns that lined her path. Her destination was a place known only to those who dared to listen to the city's spectral murmurs, the forgotten alcove where Elias Thorne awaited. Selene paused before a gnarled tree, its twisted branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. She felt the familiar chill of the departed as she closed her eyes, allowing their whispers to guide her. The spirits spoke in riddles, their voices mingling with the rustle of unseen wings. It was a symphony of echoes, a cacophony that only she could decipher. "Selene," came Elias's voice, gentle yet insistent, breaking through the spectral chorus. She opened her eyes to find him standing at the edge of the alcove, his form ethereal yet anchored by an air of melancholic wisdom. His presence was both comforting and unsettling, a reminder of the delicate balance between the living and the spectral. "Elias," Selene greeted, stepping forward. "I need your guidance." He nodded, his expression grave. "The city is restless tonight. The spirits are agitated." "They sense my search," Selene replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Each encounter leaves a mark, a tragedy I can't undo." Elias regarded her with a mixture of empathy and scrutiny. "The line between justice and vengeance is thin, Selene. You must tread carefully." Her gaze faltered as she considered his words. "But how do I know if my actions are driven by love or something darker?" Elias sighed, his form flickering like candlelight in the breeze. "That is a question only you can answer. But remember, every soul you touch has its own story, its own truth." Selene nodded, though uncertainty gnawed at her resolve. Her quest had become an intricate web of moral ambiguity, each decision weighted with consequence. "Have you spoken with Eamon?" Elias asked, changing the subject with a deftness that belied his spectral nature. "Eamon," Selene hesitated, recalling the ghostly scholar whose presence haunted the ancient library. "He offers insights, but his obsession with knowledge blinds him to other truths." Elias's gaze softened. "Even in death, we seek redemption for our unfinished business. Perhaps his questions can illuminate your path." Selene considered this, recognizing the wisdom in Elias's words. Eamon's philosophical debates had challenged her assumptions, forcing her to confront her motivations and the ethical implications of her actions. "I will seek him out again," she decided, determination creeping into her voice. "There are answers I still need." Elias inclined his head, a silent acknowledgement of her resolve. "Then let us walk together for a time." As they moved through the city's mist-laden streets, their conversation wove a tapestry of introspection and discovery. Elias posed questions that probed at Selene's conscience, urging her to explore the deeper connection between life and death. "Do you believe in destiny?" Elias asked suddenly, his tone contemplative. Selene pondered this as they passed beneath a flickering lantern. "I don't know. Sometimes it feels like I'm caught in a dance I didn't choose." "Perhaps," Elias mused, "but even dancers have choices, the steps they take, the partners they embrace." His words resonated within Selene, stirring a yearning for clarity amidst the chaos of her journey. She was not merely a hunter or victim of fate. She was an active participant in shaping her own path. As they reached the library's entrance, Elias paused, his spectral form shimmering in the moonlight. "Remember, Selene, true connection transcends physical boundaries. It resides in shared truths and unspoken bonds." With that parting thought echoing in her mind, Selene watched as Elias faded into the shadows, leaving her alone with the weight of his wisdom. Inside the library, Eamon's presence was palpable, a ghostly figure lost amidst shelves of dusty tomes and forgotten lore. Selene felt his curiosity like a tangible force as she approached. "Eamon," she called softly, sensing his awareness shift towards her. Selene, he replied, materializing before her with an enigmatic smile. Have you come seeking answers or more questions? Both, she admitted, meeting his translucent gaze. Your insights challenge me, force me to reconsider everything I thought I knew. Ammon chuckled, a sound that echoed like wind through ancient corridors. Ah, but isn't that the essence of discovery? To question is to grow. Their conversation unfolded amidst aisles of history and mystery, each exchange laden with philosophical undertones that blurred the line between knowledge and belief. Do you ever regret your pursuit of truth? Selene asked suddenly, curiosity piqued by Eamon's relentless quest. His expression grew wistful as he considered her question. Regret? No. But I do wonder if my obsession blinded me to other paths, other connections. Selene absorbed his words, recognizing the reflection of her own struggles within them. Her relentless pursuit had often overshadowed personal relationships and self-care, a flaw she could no longer ignore. Elias spoke of shared truths, she began tentatively, and unspoken bonds. Eamon nodded thoughtfully. Yes, those are what bind us, living or spectral, across realms. Their dialogue continued into the night, weaving threads of understanding between them. Through Eamon's counsel and Elias's guidance, Selene began to see beyond immediate desires towards something more profound, an understanding that transcended life and death. As dawn's light filtered through stained glass windows, casting ethereal patterns on the library floor, Selene knew that her journey was far from over. Yet within her heart lay a newfound clarity, a belief that true connection was possible, even amidst shadows and secrets. With renewed purpose guiding each step forward into uncertainty's embrace once more. Chapter 3. The moon hung high above the labyrinthine city, casting a silvery glow that bathed its cobblestone streets in an ethereal light. Selene walked with purpose, her footsteps echoing softly in the stillness of the night. The city's whispers seemed to grow louder as she neared the heart of its mystery, a place where the veil between the living and spectral was thinnest. She turned a corner and found herself in a secluded courtyard, the gnarled trees standing sentinel, their skeletal branches reaching out to the stars. It was here, under the watchful gaze of the moon, that she was to meet Elias Thorne. The air was thick with anticipation, and Selene could feel the spirits stirring around her, drawn to the meeting like moths to a flame. Elias, she called softly, her voice barely more than a breath. The name lingered in the air, a summons that carried with it the weight of unspoken questions and unresolved tensions. He appeared as if conjured from the shadows themselves, his form ethereal yet commanding. Elias Thorne was a figure of haunting elegance, his presence both comforting and unsettling. He nodded in acknowledgement, his eyes meeting hers with a depth that spoke of centuries of wisdom. Selene, he greeted, his voice a gentle murmur that seemed to resonate with the very stones beneath their feet. I trust you have been well, she shrugged, a small smile playing at her lips. As well as one can be in a city that never sleeps. Elias chuckled softly, a sound like the rustling of leaves. Indeed. But tell me, what brings you here tonight? Selene hesitated, her gaze drifting to the shadows that danced along the edges of the courtyard. I seek answers, Elias, answers that only you might provide. He studied her for a moment, his expression thoughtful. And what questions weigh so heavily on your soul? The spirits, she replied, her voice tinged with urgency. They speak in riddles, hinting at truths I cannot grasp. I need to understand what they want from me. Elias nodded slowly, his gaze unfocused as if peering into a realm beyond sight. The spirits are often cryptic, Selene. They exist in a state between worlds, caught in echoes of their past and the uncertainty of their future. But why me? She pressed, frustration creeping into her tone. Why am I the one they choose to haunt? Perhaps because you listen, Elias suggested gently. Because you see them not as mere phantoms, but as souls with stories yet untold. Selene sighed, her shoulders sagging under the weight of her burden. And what of my own story? Where does it lead? That, Elias replied with a hint of a smile, is for you to discover. But remember this, every encounter is a thread in the tapestry of your life. Each spirit you commune with adds color and texture to your journey. She considered his words, feeling both comforted and challenged by their implications. And what if these threads lead to tragedy? Elias's expression grew somber, his voice carrying an edge of warning. Then you must decide whether to weave them into your narrative or unravel them before they bind you. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden chill that swept through the courtyard, a reminder of the spectral presence that lingered just beyond perception. Selene shivered involuntarily, drawing her coat tighter around herself. "Elias," she began tentatively, "do you ever fear being trapped between worlds?" His gaze softened, and for a moment he seemed almost vulnerable. "Fear is a part of existence, Selene, whether one is living or departed, but it is how we face that fear that defines us." Selene nodded slowly, absorbing his words like drops of rain on parched earth. She had always admired Elias's ability to navigate the moral complexities of their world with grace and insight. "Thank you," she said finally, her voice filled with genuine gratitude. Elias inclined his head in acknowledgement. "Remember, Selene, the moonlight may cast shadows, but it also illuminates paths unseen." With that, he faded back into the shadows from which he had emerged, leaving Selene alone once more in the moonlit courtyard. Yet she felt less alone than before, buoyed by the knowledge that she was not without guidance on her journey. As she made her way back through the winding streets of the city, Selene pondered the night's revelations. Elias had given her much to consider, about fate and free will, about the nature of love and connection. Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft whisper that drifted through the fog, a voice familiar yet distant. It was Eamon, the spectral scholar who haunted the city's ancient library. "Selene," he called, his tone urgent and insistent. She paused beneath a flickering lantern, its light casting long shadows across her path. "Eamon," she responded cautiously. "What is it?" "There is something you must see," he replied cryptically. "A discovery that may alter your course." Intrigued and wary in equal measure, Selene followed Eamon's spectral form as he led her through narrow alleys and winding passages until they reached the library's imposing facade. Inside, surrounded by towering shelves filled with dusty tomes and forgotten knowledge, Eamon gestured toward an open book on a nearby table. "This?" he said simply. Selene approached with trepidation, her eyes scanning the pages filled with intricate symbols and arcane script. Her heart quickened as she realized what lay before her, a map of sorts detailing connections between realms both seen and unseen. "What does it mean?" she asked breathlessly. Eamon's eyes gleamed with an intensity born of both excitement and caution. "It means your journey is far from over, Selene. It means there are truths yet to be uncovered, truths that may redefine everything you believe." A thrill of anticipation coursed through Selene as she absorbed this new revelation. The road ahead was fraught with uncertainty and danger, but it also promised discovery and transformation. With renewed determination, she closed the book and met Eamon's gaze. "Then let us begin," she declared resolutely. And so they did, together embarking on a path illuminated by moonlight and shadowed by secrets waiting to be revealed. Chapter 4. The library stood like a sentinel at the city's heart, its Gothic arches and towering spires casting elongated shadows across the cobblestone streets. Selene approached with a sense of reverence, her footsteps echoing in the eerie silence that enveloped the city. The air was thick with the scent of old paper and dust, a testament to the countless volumes housed within. As she crossed the threshold, a familiar chill ran down her spine, a reminder that she was not alone. Eamon's spectral form shimmered into view, his presence as much a part of the library as the books themselves. His eyes, though devoid of life, held a depth of knowledge that seemed to pierce through the veil separating the living from the dead. "Selene," he greeted, his voice a whisper carried by the wind. "What brings you to my sanctuary today?" She smiled faintly, feeling the weight of unspoken words between them. "I'm seeking answers, Eamon. The city is restless, and so am I." Eamon nodded, his translucent figure drifting toward a nearby shelf. "Restlessness often precedes revelation. What truths do you wish to uncover?" "The spirits," Selene began, hesitating as she gathered her thoughts. "They've been more insistent lately. Their whispers are growing louder, more urgent. I need to understand why." Eamon's gaze fixed on her, contemplative. "The boundary between our worlds is thinning. Perhaps they sense something that eludes even us." Selene considered his words, feeling the familiar pull of curiosity mingled with trepidation. "Do you believe there's a connection between their unrest and my search for my mate?" Eamon's lips curled into a ghostly smile. In this city, everything is connected, Selene. The past and present dance together in an intricate waltz, each step revealing new patterns. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden rustling sound, the pages of an open book fluttering as if caught in an unseen breeze. Eamon turned toward it, his expression pensive. "Ah," he murmured, "it seems we have company." Selene followed his gaze to see Elias Thorne materialize from the shadows, his presence commanding yet oddly comforting. "Elias," Selene acknowledged, her voice steady despite the tension coiling within her. "Selene," Elias replied, his tone gentle yet firm. "I trust Eamon has been enlightening." "He always is," she said, glancing at Eamon, who inclined his head in acknowledgement. Elias stepped forward, his form solidifying with each step until he appeared almost tangible. "The spirit's restlessness may be linked to your quest, but you must tread carefully. Every choice you make ripples through both realms." Selene nodded, aware of the moral quagmire she navigated daily. "I seek guidance, Elias. How do I discern right from wrong when every path is shrouded in ambiguity?" Elias regarded her with a solemnity that belied his spectral nature. "Trust your instincts, but remember that true wisdom comes from understanding, not just knowledge." The library's silence deepened, punctuated only by the distant tolling of a bell, a reminder of time slipping away. "I should go," Selene said reluctantly, feeling the weight of unfinished business pressing upon her. Eamon's form flickered slightly as he spoke. "Remember, Selene, each spirit carries a story waiting to be told. Listen well, and you may find the answers you seek." With a nod of gratitude, Selene turned to leave, her mind awash with questions yet unanswered. As she stepped back onto the cobblestones outside, the fog clung to her like a shroud, obscuring the path ahead. The city loomed around her, its secrets held tight within its labyrinthine embrace. Yet amidst the uncertainty, a flicker of hope kindled within her, a belief that understanding was within reach. As Selene made her way through the twisting streets, she felt the presence of unseen eyes watching her every move. The spirits whispered their secrets on the wind, urging her onward. Her journey was far from over. It had only just begun. Chapter 5. The fog lay thick over the labyrinthine city, a spectral shroud that blurred the lines between the living and the spectral. Selene moved through its cobblestone streets with purpose, her footsteps echoing softly against the stone. The city seemed to breathe around her, each mist-laden breath whispering secrets of those long gone. Elias Thorne's voice was a quiet murmur beside her. "The fog carries voices tonight, Selene. Can you hear them?" She paused, closing her eyes. The world fell away, leaving only the whispers. Fragments of conversations, laughter, tears. "I hear them," she replied softly, her voice barely more than a breath. "They're restless! Restless or eager!" Elias's form was a mere shadow at the edge of her vision, a spectral figure wrapped in the city's gloom. The difference is often subtle. Selene opened her eyes, meeting his gaze with a steady resolve. "And what do they seek? Closure, perhaps," he mused, his tone thoughtful, or maybe just to be remembered. They walked on in silence, the city's architecture looming over them like silent sentinels. The gnarled trees lining the avenue reached out with skeletal branches as if yearning to touch the fog that enveloped them. Selene's mind was a whirl of thoughts and emotions, her quest for her true mate a constant undercurrent. Yet each encounter left her more entangled in a web of moral ambiguity. Was she seeking love, or merely absolution for sins she could not recall? As if sensing her turmoil, Elias spoke again. "You must be careful, Selene. Not every spirit can be trusted." "I know," she replied, her voice tinged with weariness. "But I have to try." Their path led them to the ancient library where Eamon lingered, a place where knowledge lived on in dust-covered tomes and ghostly whispers. The library was a sanctuary for lost souls and forgotten truths, its halls echoing with the wisdom of ages past. Eamon awaited them amidst the shadows, his presence a faint shimmer in the dim light. "Ah, Selene," he greeted with a scholarly nod. "Come to unravel more mysteries?" She smiled wryly. "Or perhaps to become one myself." Eamon chuckled, a sound like dry leaves rustling in the wind. "Every question leads to another mystery, but that is the nature of our existence, is it not?" Selene joined him at the vast table strewn with scrolls and manuscripts. "I've been thinking about what you said last time, about fate and free will." He nodded, his ghostly form flickering slightly. Yes, our eternal debate. Have you reached any conclusions? Only more questions. Her eyes met his, searching for answers in their depths. Is it possible to change one's destiny, or are we bound by the paths we choose? Eamon's gaze was contemplative. Perhaps it is not about changing destiny, but understanding it. Every choice we make is a thread in the tapestry of our lives. Elias interjected softly, his presence grounding them both. And sometimes, understanding requires letting go. Selene absorbed their words, feeling the weight of their truth settle within her. Her journey was not just about finding a mate, but about understanding herself and the world she navigated. The conversation turned to lighter topics, the history of the city and its spectral inhabitants, yet each word was laden with subtext and hidden meanings. As night deepened, Selene felt a shift in the air, a palpable tension that hummed beneath the surface. She stood, sensing it was time to move on. "Thank you, Eamon," she said, her gratitude genuine. He bowed slightly. "Remember, Selene, knowledge is both a gift and a burden." With Elias at her side, she stepped back into the fog-draped streets, her mind awash with thoughts. "Do you ever wonder," she asked Elias quietly as they walked, "if we're all just echoes of something greater?" His response was gentle but firm. "We are echoes, yes, but also voices in our own right." As they parted ways at the edge of the square, Selene felt a flicker of hope amidst the uncertainty, a belief that understanding and redemption were possible. The city's heart beat on in eerie silence as she continued her quest under the moonlit haze. Each step took her deeper into the enigma of her world, a place where every shadow held a secret, and every whisper was a clue waiting to be unraveled. And though the path ahead remained shrouded in mystery, Selene knew that each choice she made would bring her closer to discovering who she truly was, and what she sought within this spectral dance between life and death. Chapter 6. The fog clung to the city like a shroud, its tendrils winding through the narrow alleys and embracing the ancient stones beneath Selene's feet. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decay, as if the city itself exhaled the essence of forgotten souls. Her breath mingled with the mist, visible in the moonlight that filtered through the gnarled branches overhead. Selene moved with purpose, her steps echoing softly against the cobblestones. She was drawn to this particular part of the city where whispers from the past seemed to linger more palpably. Each corner she turned revealed new shadows, each shadow a potential revelation. Her mind was a labyrinth of questions and half-formed answers, as intricate as the city itself. A spectral figure waited for her at the edge of an old courtyard. Elias Thorne, his form shimmering faintly in the gloom. He stood as a sentinel amidst the flickering lanterns, their light casting elongated shadows that danced across his translucent features. "You seem troubled," Elias observed, his voice a gentle murmur that blended with the night. "Troubled?" Selene echoed, her tone edged with wry amusement. "In this city, who isn't?" Elias offered a ghostly smile. "True enough, but your troubles run deeper than most." She paused beside him, her gaze drifting to the courtyard beyond. It was a place of quiet beauty, where nature had reclaimed its hold. Vines crept along crumbling walls, and wildflowers bloomed defiantly between cracked stones. Yet even here, there was an undercurrent of unease, a reminder that beauty often masked darker truths. "I spoke with Eamon today," Selene said, breaking the silence that had settled between them. Elias raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "And what did our resident scholar have to say?" "Much and little," she replied cryptically. "He spoke of love and justice, fate and free will, his usual topics." "And did you find clarity in his words?" Selene hesitated, her thoughts swirling like the mist around them. "Clarity is elusive," she admitted. "Every answer only seems to lead to more questions." Elias nodded, understanding. "Such is the nature of our existence here. But tell me, what troubles you most?" She turned to face him fully, her expression earnest. "I'm beginning to question my own motivations, Elias." "Each encounter I have, each man I meet, only ends in tragedy. I wonder if I'm truly seeking love, or if something darker drives me." The spectral mentor regarded her thoughtfully, his gaze piercing yet compassionate. "Perhaps it is both," he suggested. "We are often guided by forces we do not fully understand." "But at what cost?" Selene challenged. "Am I a hunter or merely a victim of destiny?" "A question only you can answer," Elias replied softly. But remember this, even in darkness, there is light to be found. Their conversation lingered in Selene's mind as she continued her journey through the city's maze-like streets. The night was alive with possibilities, each step leading her closer to truths she both yearned for and feared. It was in one such alleyway that she encountered him, another potential mate drawn into her orbit by forces unseen. He was tall and lean, his features sharp against the dim glow of a nearby lantern. There was something familiar in his eyes, a reflection of her own restless spirit. "Selene," he greeted her with a nod, his voice smooth, yet tinged with uncertainty. "Eamon," she replied, recognizing the spectral scholar from their earlier meeting in the library. He offered a wry smile. "I see you found me again." "It seems I can't escape you," she said lightly, though her heart felt heavy with unspoken questions. Eamon gestured towards a nearby bench, inviting her to sit beside him. They settled into an easy silence, their surroundings cocooned in the city's ever-present fog. "Tell me," Eamon began after a moment, "do you believe in fate?" Selene considered his question carefully. "I used to," she confessed. "But now, I'm not so sure." "Why the doubt?" he pressed gently. "Because every path I take seems predetermined," she explained, "as if my choices are illusions, a cruel jest played by destiny." Eamon nodded slowly, understanding her turmoil. "And yet we continue to choose," he mused. "Perhaps that is where true freedom lies, in our ability to defy fate's design." His words resonated within her, striking chords that reverberated through her soul. Could it be true? Was there power in choice even amidst the chaos of destiny? Their conversation flowed seamlessly from one topic to another, each exchange revealing layers of thought and emotion that had previously remained hidden. They debated love and loss, justice and vengeance, concepts that intertwined like vines around their hearts. Yet beneath their philosophical discourse lay a deeper connection, a shared understanding born from lives touched by tragedy and longing. As they spoke, Selene felt herself drawn closer to Eamon, not just as a potential mate, but as a kindred spirit who mirrored her own struggles with identity and purpose. But their moment of connection was abruptly shattered by an unexpected sound, the tolling of a distant bell that echoed hauntingly through the night air. Both Selene and Eamon stiffened at its resonance, a reminder of time slipping away like sand through fingers. "I must go," Eamon said suddenly, rising from the bench with urgency. "Wait!" Selene called after him instinctively, sensing that their encounter held significance beyond what either realized. He paused briefly before disappearing into the shadows, a spectral figure vanishing into mist once more. Left alone beneath flickering lanterns' glow, Selena pondered all they had discussed while grappling with newfound doubts about herself and her quest for love, for truth, for redemption. In this world where reality blurred with supernatural echoes and every choice carried weight beyond measure, she faced an uncertain future, but also hope that understanding might yet bring peace to both living and departed, souls alike, in this shadowy city steeped in mystery and melancholy, where every alleyway whispered secrets of those who once walked its cobblestone streets, and where every shadow held a story waiting to be told. Chapter 7. The city lay shrouded in a veil of mist, its cobblestone streets whispering tales of those long gone. Selene moved through the labyrinthine alleys with purpose, her steps guided by an unseen force that seemed to echo the distant tolling of a bell. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a constant reminder of the ethereal boundaries she navigated. As she approached the ancient library, the familiar silhouette of Elias Thorne emerged from the shadows. His presence was both comforting and haunting, a spectral figure whose wisdom spanned centuries. He stood beneath the flickering lanterns, their glow casting elongated shadows across his translucent form. "Elias," Selene greeted, her voice barely more than a whisper against the city's eternal murmur. "I need your guidance." Elias inclined his head, his gaze penetrating yet gentle. "You seek answers, as always. But tell me, Selene, what questions weigh upon your heart today?" Selene hesitated, the weight of her quest pressing heavily upon her shoulders. "I fear my search is leading me astray. Each encounter ends in tragedy, and I wonder if I'm chasing shadows rather than truth." Elias's eyes softened with understanding. "The path you tread is fraught with peril and ambiguity, yet it is in these shadows that you must find your light." Their dialogue wove through the spectral city's silence, each word a thread in the tapestry of Selene's journey. She confided in Elias about her most recent encounter, a man named Eamon, whose spirit lingered within the library's walls. His presence had been both enlightening and unsettling, challenging her beliefs with philosophical debates that left her questioning the very nature of her quest. Eamon spoke of love as a fleeting illusion, Selene mused, her brow furrowed in contemplation. He believes that our connections are mere echoes of desires unfulfilled. Elias chuckled softly, a sound like the rustle of autumn leaves. Eamon has always been one to ponder the deeper questions, yet consider this, is not every echo born from an original sound? Perhaps these connections you seek are echoes of something genuine, an essence that transcends time and space. Selene nodded slowly, absorbing Elias's words like a balm for her troubled soul. The library loomed before them. Its Gothic architecture, a testament to the city's rich history and its spectral inhabitants' enduring presence. Inside, the air was cool and still, heavy with the scent of ancient parchment and forgotten knowledge. Eamon awaited them amidst towering stacks of books, his ghostly form flickering like candlelight in the dimness. "Selene," he greeted, his voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. "I see you've brought our mutual friend." "Eamon," Elias acknowledged with a nod. "We come seeking your insights. Selene's journey has taken unexpected turns." Eamon regarded Selene with an intensity that belied his incorporeal state. Unexpected turns are often where true discovery lies. "Tell me, what troubles you so?" Selene recounted her encounters with spirits and the moral dilemmas they posed, each life touched by her search, leaving behind echoes of unresolved guilt and regret. She spoke of her yearning for connection and redemption, a desire that seemed ever out of reach. "You fear becoming a hunter rather than a seeker," Eamon observed, his gaze unwavering. "Yes," Selene admitted, her voice tinged with vulnerability. "I fear losing myself in this relentless pursuit." Eamon's spectral form flickered as he pondered her words. "Perhaps it is not about finding a mate, but understanding the nature of love itself, the connection between souls that transcends physical existence." Their conversation flowed like a river through the library's hallowed halls, each exchange revealing layers of complexity within Selene's quest. Eamon challenged her to reconsider her motivations, urging her to see beyond immediate desires and embrace a broader understanding of existence. As their dialogue unfolded, Elias watched with quiet contemplation, his presence a steady anchor amidst the swirling currents of philosophy and introspection. "Remember," Elias interjected gently, "in this world where living and spectral coexist, true connection lies not in possession, but in shared truths and unspoken bonds." Selene absorbed their counsel, her mind alight with newfound clarity. Her journey was not just about finding a mate, but unraveling the intricate web of fate and free will, a dance between life and death where every step held profound implications. As they departed the library, Selene felt a renewed sense of purpose coursing through her veins. The city's misty streets awaited her return, their secrets whispering promises of revelations yet to come. Elias walked beside her, his spectral form blending seamlessly with the fog that enveloped them. "What will you do now?" he asked, his voice carrying both curiosity and concern. "I will continue my search," Selene replied with quiet determination, "but I will do so with open eyes and an open heart, seeking not just answers but understanding." Elias nodded approvingly, his presence a comforting reminder that she was never truly alone on this journey. As they parted ways beneath the gnarled trees lining the avenue, Selene felt a stirring within her soul, a flicker of hope amidst the shadows that surrounded her. Her quest was far from over, yet each step brought her closer to unraveling the mysteries that bound her to this spectral city. With resolve guiding her path and the whispers of spirits echoing in her ears, Selene continued forward into the night, a seeker of truth navigating the delicate balance between light and darkness, love and loss. Chapter 8. The fog clung to the narrow alleyways like a shroud, casting an ethereal glow beneath the gas lamps that flickered with an otherworldly luminescence. Selene moved through the labyrinthine city with the grace of a shadow, her footsteps barely audible against the cobblestones that whispered secrets of bygone eras. The city, with its Gothic spires and Victorian facades, seemed alive, a living testament to the past, present, and the spectral in between. Her destination lay at the heart of this enigmatic realm, the ancient library where Eamon, the spectral scholar, lingered among dusty tomes and forgotten lore. Selene's quest for her true mate had led her here, driven by an inexplicable yearning that gnawed at her soul. Each encounter along her path had been fraught with tension and ambiguity, leaving behind echoes of lives cut short and souls left wandering. As she approached the library's grand entrance, a voice, both familiar and distant, called out from the mist. "Selene," it whispered, carrying with it the weight of centuries. She paused, her heart quickening as Elias Thorne emerged from the shadows. The Keeper of the Forgotten stood before her, his presence both comforting and unsettling. His ethereal form seemed to shimmer in the moonlight, a spectral guardian of memories long past. "Elias," she acknowledged, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "I wasn't expecting to see you here." His eyes, deep pools of wisdom and melancholy, met hers. "The city is restless tonight. Its secrets are stirring." Selene nodded, understanding the gravity of his words. In this world where the lines between living and spectral blurred, every whisper held significance. "I'm meeting Eamon," she explained. "There are questions only he can answer." Elias inclined his head, a gesture of both approval and caution. "Eamon's knowledge is vast, but remember, his truths are often layered with riddles. Not everything is as it seems." A hint of a smile touched Selene's lips. "When has anything ever been straightforward in this place?" With a final nod, Elias stepped back into the shadows, leaving Selene to continue her journey alone. Inside the library, silence reigned supreme, broken only by the soft rustle of pages turning in unseen hands. The air was thick with the scent of old parchment and ink, a heady aroma that spoke of wisdom accumulated over lifetimes. "Eamon?" Selene called softly, her voice echoing off the vaulted ceilings. From the dim recesses of the library, a figure materialized. Eamon, spectral yet solid in his presence. His form was translucent, yet his eyes burned with an intensity that belied his ghostly state. "Selene," he greeted, his tone warm yet tinged with an undercurrent of sorrow. "You seek answers!" "I do," she replied, moving closer to where he hovered beside a table laden with ancient texts. "The city, it feels different tonight." Eamon nodded thoughtfully. "The past and present are converging more intensely than usual. The spirits are restless." Selene leaned against the table, her gaze fixed on Eamon's ethereal features. "I've been grappling with my journey, this quest for a true mate. Every encounter leaves me questioning more than it answers." Eamon's expression softened. "Your path is fraught with moral ambiguity. Love, justice, they are not so easily defined." "Is it love I seek?" Selene mused aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. "Or am I simply a pawn in destiny's cruel design?" Eamon regarded her with a mixture of empathy and challenge. "Perhaps both, but remember, Selene, free will is not an illusion. You have agency in your choices." Their dialogue hung in the air like a delicate web, each word a strand that connected them across realms. Selene felt a kinship with Eamon. His own quest for knowledge mirrored her search for connection. "Tell me about your unfinished work," Selene prompted, steering their conversation towards Eamon's own struggles. His gaze drifted to the shelves lined with books, each one a repository of secrets and insights. "In life, I sought to understand the mysteries of existence. Death has not changed that desire." "And what have you discovered?" Selene asked, genuinely curious. Eamon's eyes met hers once more. "That understanding is less about answers and more about embracing the questions themselves." Selene considered his words, their truth resonating within her. Her own journey had been one of relentless pursuit, always seeking closure, yet finding only more layers to unravel. As they spoke, the library seemed to pulse with energy, a living entity attuned to their exchange. Eamon's presence was both grounding and elusive. He was a bridge between realms, much like herself. Their conversation turned to philosophy, debates on fate and free will that challenged Selene's perceptions and forced her to confront her motivations. "What if this quest leads nowhere?" she asked finally, voicing a fear that had lingered in her heart. "Then perhaps it's not about reaching an end," Eamon suggested gently, "but about what you learn along the way." Selene nodded slowly, absorbing his wisdom. In this world where every shadow held a secret and every whisper carried weight, she realized that her journey was as much about self-discovery as it was about finding another. As their dialogue drew to a close, Ammon's form began to fade back into the shadows from whence he came. "Remember," he said softly, his voice echoing through the library's hallowed halls, "the answers you seek may lie in places you least expect." With those parting words lingering in her mind, Selene turned to leave, the path ahead uncertain yet illuminated by newfound understanding. Outside, the city awaited, its cobblestone streets echoing with whispers of those long departed. Selene stepped into the mist once more, feeling both burdened and buoyed by her encounter with Eamon. Her journey was far from over. Questions remained unanswered, and paths yet untrodden. But as she walked beneath the gnarled trees that lined the avenues like skeletal sentinels, she knew one thing for certain. The search for truth was not a solitary endeavor. It was a dance between realms where life and death intertwined in an eternal embrace. And somewhere within that dance lay her own redemption, a chance to redefine what it meant to be truly connected in this spectral world, where every conversation could lead to revelation or ruin. With each step forward into uncertainty and possibility alike, Selene embraced both light and shadow, seeking balance amidst chaos as she continued her haunting quest for understanding and connection beyond mortal bounds. The city breathed around her, a paradoxical tapestry woven from threads of history and hope, and Selene knew that within its depths lay not just answers, but also the very essence of what it meant to be alive. And so she walked on, guided by moonlight filtering through haze as whispers followed in her wake like echoes from another time, another place, another life, yet lived. Chapter 9. The fog hung thick in the labyrinthine city, a spectral shroud that masked intentions and blurred the boundaries between time and space. Selene moved through the cobblestone streets, her footsteps echoing softly in the mist. The air was charged with a sense of anticipation, as if the city itself held its breath, waiting for the next revelation. Elias Thorne appeared at her side, his presence as ethereal as the fog. "You seem troubled, Selene," he observed, his voice a low murmur that blended with the whispers of the departed. "Troubled? Perhaps," she replied, her gaze fixed on the gnarled trees that lined the avenue. "Or maybe just uncertain." Elias chuckled softly, a sound like dry leaves rustling in the wind. "Uncertainty is the curse of those who seek truth." Selene turned to him, her eyes searching his spectral form for answers. "And what of you, Elias? Do you still seek truth, or have you found it?" "I seek understanding," Elias said, his gaze distant. "Truth is elusive, always slipping through one's grasp like sand." Their conversation was interrupted by a flicker of movement at the edge of Selene's vision. She paused, her senses attuned to the presence of another spirit. Eamon, the spectral scholar, emerged from the shadows, his form wavering like a candle flame caught in a draught. "Selene," he greeted, his tone both warm and inquisitive. "I trust you find the city's mysteries as compelling as ever?" "More than ever," she replied, noting the familiar intensity in Eamon's gaze. "But they seem to lead me in circles." "Circles are not without purpose," Eamon countered, a faint smile playing on his lips. "They bring us back to where we began, perhaps with new insights." Selene sighed, her frustration palpable. "Yet I feel no closer to finding my true mate or understanding this compulsion that drives me." Amon's expression softened. "Perhaps what you seek is not a person, but an understanding of yourself." Elias nodded in agreement. "The quest for connection often mirrors our own internal struggles." Their words lingered in the air, resonating with an unspoken truth that Selene could not yet grasp. She resumed walking, her companions flanking her as they ventured deeper into the city's heart. The library loomed ahead, its Gothic architecture both imposing and inviting. Within its walls lay countless tomes filled with stories of lives past and secrets untold. As they entered, the atmosphere shifted, heavy with knowledge and the weight of unfinished business. Eamon drifted towards a shelf lined with ancient volumes, his fingers brushing the spines reverently. "This place holds answers if one knows where to look. And if one is willing to see beyond the surface," Elias added. Selene approached a nearby table where an open book lay waiting. Its pages were yellowed with age, yet the words seemed to pulse with life. She traced a finger over the text, feeling an inexplicable connection to the stories contained within. "What if I never find what I'm looking for?" she asked quietly. Eamon turned to her, his expression thoughtful. Sometimes the journey itself is the answer. Or perhaps, Elias interjected gently, what you find will be different from what you expected. Their dialogue was interrupted by a sudden chill that swept through the room, a reminder of the spectral presence that inhabited this place. Selene shivered involuntarily, acutely aware of how closely she walked with ghosts. The dead speak in riddles, she mused aloud, but their messages hold truths we cannot ignore. Eamon nodded solemnly. Indeed. They challenge us to confront our own fears and desires. As they continued their exploration of the library's depths, Selene felt a growing sense of urgency, a need to unravel the tangled threads of fate and free will that bound her to this path. Each step brought her closer to an understanding that eluded definition, yet beckoned with relentless allure. Outside, the city remained shrouded in fog, its secrets hidden beneath layers of history and memory. Yet within its shadowed streets and echoing alleys lay clues waiting to be discovered, clues that could guide Selene towards her destiny or lead her further astray. As they prepared to leave, Eamon paused by a window overlooking the cityscape below. Remember, he said softly, every shadow holds a secret. Selene nodded, absorbing his words like a promise etched into her soul. The journey was far from over. Each conversation revealed new layers of complexity and depth. Elias placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, a gesture both reassuring and grounding. We walk this path together, he reminded her. With renewed determination, Selene stepped back into the fog-drenched streets, her heart heavy with questions yet buoyed by hope. The city's whispers called to her still. Their echoes promised revelations yet unseen. In this world where shadows danced with desire and every encounter held meaning beyond words, Selene knew one thing for certain. Her quest was not just about finding a mate, but uncovering the deeper truths that lay hidden beneath life's surface. A journey that would redefine what it meant to be truly connected in a world where living and spectral intertwined seamlessly. As they walked away from the library's embrace, each step carrying them further into mystery, the city's heart beat on. A rhythm composed of light and darkness, love and loss, humanity and the supernatural, a symphony only those who dared listen could hear. The path ahead was uncertain, yet filled with possibility, a testament to Selene's unwavering resolve as she navigated this enigmatic realm, where every shadow held potential for discovery or deception. And so she continued forward, guided by intuition, driven by desire, ever closer to unraveling destiny's intricate design, her journey far from over, but illuminated by newfound understanding. The search for connection transcended physical boundaries. It resided instead within shared truths and unspoken bonds between souls, a revelation as profound as it was elusive, a dance between realms, an eternal quest for meaning amidst life's fleeting moments, a story yet unfolding, a tale yet told, a journey ever onward into night. Chapter 10. The city lay shrouded in its perpetual veil of mist, the cobblestone streets slick with evening dew. Selene moved through the labyrinthine alleys, her footsteps echoing softly against the ancient stones. The city's whispers reached her ears, a chorus of secrets carried on the chill breeze. Each breath she took drew in the essence of those who had walked these paths before, their stories interwoven with her own. She paused beneath a gnarled tree, its branches stretching out like skeletal fingers against the dim sky. The air was heavy with anticipation, the kind that heralded an encounter yet to unfold. In this place where the living and spectral danced an eternal waltz, Selene felt both at home and adrift. "Elias," she called softly, her voice barely more than a murmur. "Are you there?" A figure emerged from the shadows, his form indistinct at first, a mere suggestion of presence. As he stepped into the moonlight, Elias Thorne's features became clearer, his eyes glinting with a knowledge that transcended mortal understanding. "Selene," he greeted, his voice carrying a gentle authority. "You seek answers tonight." She nodded, her gaze steady. "The bell tolls, Elias. I feel it drawing me closer to something. Or someone." Elias inclined his head, acknowledging the weight of her words. "The bell is both a beacon and a warning. It calls to those who listen, yet its toll can lead astray." Selene's eyes narrowed, searching his spectral face for clues. "And what of my quest? Is it justice I seek, or vengeance?" The question lingered between them, a thread connecting past and future. Elias regarded her with a solemn intensity. "That is for you to decide. But remember, each choice you make echoes beyond your own existence. Their dialogue was interrupted by a sudden rustle of leaves, a disturbance in the fabric of night. Selene turned sharply, her senses alert to the shift in energy. From the darkness emerged another figure, his presence less ethereal but no less mysterious. Eamon, the spectral scholar, joined their conversation with a wry smile playing on his lips. "Ah, the eternal debate," Eamon remarked, his voice rich with irony. "Justice or vengeance? The lines blur so easily in our world." Selene met his gaze, feeling the familiar tug of curiosity and caution. "And what do you believe, Eamon? You've spent lifetimes pondering such questions." Eamon chuckled softly, a sound that seemed to reverberate through the very stones beneath them. "Belief is but a shadow in the realm of knowledge. Yet I will say this, understanding one's motives is as vital as pursuing them." The three stood in contemplative silence, each lost in their own reflections. The city's heart beat around them, its pulse synchronized with their own. Selene broke the quietude, her voice tinged with resolve. "I must find him, the one who calls to me through the veil." Elias's expression softened, an unspoken empathy passing between them. "Be wary of what you seek, Selene. The path is fraught with peril and temptation." Eamon added with a hint of mischief, "And do not forget, every question answered births another mystery." The bell's toll resounded once more, its chime reverberating through the mist-laden air. Selene felt its vibrations deep within her being, a summons she could not ignore. "I will heed your counsel," she promised, her gaze shifting between her spectral companions. "But I cannot turn away from this path." Elias nodded, his approval implicit in the gesture. "Then go with caution and courage." As Selene resumed her journey through the city's winding streets, she carried their words with her, a tapestry of wisdom and warning woven into her thoughts. The fog thickened as she approached the heart of the city, where an ancient bell tower loomed against the night sky. Its silhouette was stark and imposing, each chime a reminder of time's relentless march. Within the tower's shadow lay a courtyard bathed in moonlight, its surface rippling like liquid silver. Here, Selene paused once more, her senses attuned to the ethereal currents swirling around her. A figure awaited her there, a man whose presence was both familiar and foreign. His features were obscured by shadow, yet Selene felt an undeniable connection thrumming between them. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady despite the tumult within. The man stepped forward, revealing eyes that mirrored her own, a reflection of longing and recognition. "I am both your past and your future," he replied cryptically, "the one who has called to you across time and space." Selene's heart quickened at his words, each syllable resonating with truth and enigma. She reached out tentatively, her fingers brushing against his spectral form. "Why have you summoned me?" she demanded softly. His smile was enigmatic, a promise wrapped in mystery. "To find what you seek, and perhaps to lose yourself in the process." The bell tolled once more, its sound reverberating through their shared space. In that moment, Selene understood that her journey was far from over, that each step she took would unravel new threads in the tapestry of fate. As she stood poised on the brink of discovery and danger, Selene knew that every choice she made would shape not only her destiny, but also the delicate balance between life and death. With renewed determination, she embraced the uncertainty ahead, guided by echoes of wisdom and whispers of love, knowing that each tolling bell marked both an ending and a beginning in her haunting quest for truth and connection. Chapter 11. The fog clung to the cobblestone streets like a shroud, weaving through the labyrinthine city with an unsettling grace. Selene moved through the mist, her footsteps echoing softly in the silence, each step a reminder of the spectral world that lay just beyond the veil. She could feel the city's pulse, a rhythmic thrum that resonated with the whispers of those long departed. Tonight, the air was thick with anticipation, as if the city itself awaited revelation. Selene's thoughts were a tangled web of questions and half-formed answers, each thread pulling her deeper into a mystery that refused to unravel. Her mind drifted to Elias Thorne, the keeper of the forgotten, whose guidance had become both a comfort and a challenge. Elias had always been an enigma, his presence a blend of ethereal wisdom and haunting melancholy. As she approached their meeting place, a secluded courtyard where gnarled trees stretched towards the sky like skeletal hands, she felt the familiar chill of his presence. "Elias," she called softly, her voice barely disturbing the night's stillness. He emerged from the shadows, his form shifting like smoke in the moonlight. "Selene," he replied, his voice carrying a weight that seemed to transcend time. "You've come seeking answers." "I have," she admitted, her gaze meeting his. "But it seems every answer leads to more questions." Elias nodded, an understanding smile playing at the corners of his lips. "Such is the nature of our existence. Each revelation is but a doorway to another mystery." They stood in silence for a moment, the fog swirling around them like a living entity. Selene could feel the pull of the spirits, their voices murmuring at the edge of her consciousness. It was a sensation both comforting and unnerving, a reminder of her gift and its burdens. "Do you ever wonder," Elias began, breaking the silence, "if this quest of yours is truly about finding a mate, or is it something more?" The question lingered in the air, heavy with implication. Selene hesitated, feeling the familiar tug of introspection. "I don't know," she confessed. "Sometimes it feels like I'm searching for something I can't even name." Elias regarded her thoughtfully. "Perhaps what you seek is not a person, but an understanding, a connection that transcends the boundaries of life and death." His words resonated deeply within her, stirring emotions she had long kept buried. The desire for connection, for redemption, was a yearning she could not shake. Yet with each failed encounter, she was left questioning whether she was a hunter or merely destiny's prey. Their conversation was interrupted by a rustle in the shadows, and Selene turned to see Eamon approaching. The spectral scholar appeared as he always did, an ethereal figure clad in robes that seemed woven from starlight. "Eamon," Selene greeted him warmly, grateful for his presence. His knowledge had been invaluable in her quest, and his philosophical musings often provided clarity amidst chaos. "Selene," Eamon acknowledged with a nod before turning to Elias. "I trust you were discussing matters of consequence." Elias chuckled softly. "Aren't all matters consequential in their own way?" Eamon smiled faintly, his eyes reflecting centuries of wisdom and curiosity. "Indeed they are. But some truths weigh heavier than others." Selene listened as they spoke, their dialogue weaving a tapestry of insights and questions. With each exchange, she felt herself drawn deeper into their world, a place where logic danced with mystery and certainty was but an illusion. "Tell me," Eamon said, turning his attention to Selene, "have you considered that your journey might be less about finding answers and more about understanding your own nature?" She hesitated again, grappling with the notion. "I suppose I've always been driven by a need to know, to uncover truths hidden beneath layers of history and myth. But in doing so," Elias interjected gently, "you must also confront your own truths, the motivations that guide your actions and the consequences they bring." Their words hung in the air like an unspoken challenge, urging Selene to look inward even as she sought outward revelations. It was a path fraught with ambiguity, where justice and vengeance blurred into indistinguishable shades of gray. As they continued their discourse under the moon's watchful gaze, Selene felt a shift within herself, a subtle realignment of purpose and perspective. Her quest was not merely about finding another soul. It was about forging connections that transcended time and space. In that moment, she realized that every conversation held potential, the power to illuminate or obscure truths depending on how she chose to listen and interpret them. With newfound resolve, Selene turned back to Elias and Eamon, her voice steady, despite the uncertainty that lay ahead. "Perhaps you're right," she conceded. "Perhaps this journey is about more than I ever imagined." Elias smiled approvingly, while Eamon nodded thoughtfully. A silent acknowledgement of shared understanding among kindred spirits navigating life's intricate dance. As dawn approached on whispering winds laden with secrets yet untold, Selene knew there would be challenges ahead, decisions that would test her resolve and redefine what it meant to truly connect across realms, both seen and unseen. But for now, for this fleeting moment suspended between night and day, she found solace in knowing that whatever path unfolded before her would be walked not alone, but alongside those who understood its complexity best. Together they stood amidst shadows cast by ancient trees reaching skyward, a testament to resilience born from shared journeys through darkness toward light, a reminder that even when veils thin between worlds unknown, there remains hope for redemption found within hearts willing enough seek it out amidst echoes past, lives entwined forevermore. Chapter 12. The fog lay thick over the cobblestone streets, a shroud that seemed to breathe with the city itself. Selene moved through it like a shadow, her thoughts swirling with the echoes of voices both living and dead. She had come to this labyrinthine place not just to find her true mate, but to understand the whispers that haunted her soul. Each step she took was guided by an invisible thread, pulling her ever deeper into the city's heart. Elias Thorne, the keeper of the forgotten, awaited her at the entrance of an old cathedral. Its Gothic spires pierced the sky, standing like sentinels against the encroaching mist. Selene approached him with a mixture of anticipation and dread. Elias had always been a guide, his spectral form both comforting and unsettling. "Selene," Elias greeted, his voice as smooth as velvet. "You've come seeking answers again." She nodded, her eyes searching his face for some sign of what lay ahead. "The architect," she said softly. "I need to know what he hides." Elias's expression remained inscrutable, yet there was a flicker of something, concern, perhaps, in his eyes. "The architect's secrets are buried deep within these walls," he replied, gesturing towards the cathedral. "But be warned, Selene. Uncovering them may lead you down a path from which there is no return." "I have to try," she insisted, her voice firm despite the fear gnawing at her resolve. Elias sighed, a sound that seemed to echo through the ages. "Very well. But remember, the truth is often more complex than it appears." Together they entered the cathedral, its interior a cavernous expanse of shadow and light. The air was thick with history, every stone a silent witness to the passage of time. As they walked, their footsteps reverberated off the walls, creating a symphony of whispers that only Selene could truly hear. "Elias," Selene began, breaking the silence, "do you ever wonder if we're meant to find these answers? Or if we're simply chasing shadows?" He paused, considering her question with the weight it deserved. "Perhaps it's not about the answers themselves," he mused, "but what we learn in the pursuit of them." Their conversation was interrupted by a faint rustling sound, a presence that lingered just beyond sight. Eamon, the spectral scholar, emerged from between the columns, his form shimmering like a mirage. "Ah, Selene," Eamon greeted with a nod. "I see you've brought our friend Elias along for this venture." Selene managed a small smile. "I couldn't do this without him, or you." Eamon's ghostly visage brightened at her words. "Then let us proceed," he said, gesturing towards a hidden passageway beneath an ornate archway. "The architect's secrets lie within." As they descended into the depths of the cathedral, Selene felt an unsettling mix of excitement and trepidation. Each step brought them closer to revelations that could redefine everything she believed about her quest. In the dim light of the underground chamber, they found themselves surrounded by intricate murals depicting scenes of creation and destruction, a tapestry of humanity's eternal struggle. In the center stood an imposing figure carved from stone, the architect himself. "What does it mean?" Selene asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Eamon studied the carvings with an intensity that belied his spectral form. "The architect was both creator and destroyer," he explained. "His secrets are not mere knowledge, but reflections of our own dual nature." Selene felt a chill run down her spine as she considered his words. Was her pursuit of a true mate driven by love or something darker? Could she find redemption in understanding herself? Or would she be consumed by the very shadows she sought to unravel? Elias stepped forward, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Remember, Selene," he said gently, "the journey is yours alone. No one can decide your path, but you." His words resonated deeply within her, igniting a flicker of clarity amidst the confusion. She realized that her quest was not just about finding another soul. It was about confronting her own. As they turned to leave, Selene caught sight of a small inscription at the base of the stone figure. It read, "To understand oneself is to embrace both light and shadow." The words lingered in her mind as they ascended back into the cathedral's main hall. Outside, the fog had lifted slightly, revealing glimpses of moonlight filtering through the clouds. "Elias," Selene said softly as they emerged into the night air. "Thank you for everything." He smiled, a rare warmth in his spectral gaze. "You have much yet to discover," he replied, but I believe you are on the right path." With renewed determination, Selene set off into the labyrinthine city once more. The architect's secret had not provided all the answers she sought, but it had illuminated something far more profound. The understanding that her journey was as much about discovering herself as it was about finding another. And so she walked on, guided by moonlight and shadow alike, each step bringing her closer to unraveling not just the mysteries of this world, but those within her own heart. As Selene disappeared into the city's winding streets, Elias and Eamon exchanged a knowing glance. Their roles as guides might have ended here for now, but they knew that their influence would linger long after she had gone. For in this spectral city, where every shadow held a secret and every whispered word carried weight beyond measure, Selene's journey was only beginning, and with it came an invitation for all who dared to listen, to explore not just what lies beyond, but what resides within. The fog rolled in once more as Elias and Eamon faded into its embrace, silent witnesses to a story still unfolding amidst shadows and light. Chapter 13. The city's ancient heart pulsed with an eerie life of its own, the cobblestones beneath Selene's feet whispering secrets of centuries past. Every step she took was a dance with shadows, a waltz through the ethereal fog that clung to the streets like a spectral veil. Tonight, the city seemed particularly restless, its unseen inhabitants stirring just beyond the reach of mortal sight. Selene moved with purpose, her mind a labyrinth of thoughts. The quest for her true mate had consumed her, leading her through countless encounters and leaving a trail of spectral echoes in her wake. Yet, each meeting ended in tragedy, as though fate itself conspired against her. The weight of these failures pressed heavily upon her soul, blurring the line between justice and vengeance. She paused beneath a twisted oak, its gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal hands. The fog swirled around her, and she closed her eyes, listening. The spirits were always near, their voices a constant murmur at the edge of perception. Tonight, she sought the counsel of Elias Thorne, the keeper of the forgotten. His presence was a beacon in this shadowy world, guiding her through the moral quagmire she found herself in. "Selene," his voice emerged from the mist, gentle yet firm. "You walk a perilous path." She opened her eyes to find Elias standing before her, his form shimmering like a mirage. "I know," she replied, her voice tinged with resignation. "But what choice do I have? This compulsion, it gnaws at me!" Elias regarded her with a mixture of empathy and concern. "The line between love and obsession is thin. You must tread carefully." "I seek connection," Selene insisted, though doubt crept into her words. "Is that so wrong?" "Connection at what cost?" Elias countered. "Each life you touch leaves behind echoes. Are they cries for justice or whispers of vengeance?" Selene fell silent, grappling with the truth in his words. Her encounters had indeed left scars both on the living and the departed. Yet the yearning within her remained insatiable, a void that no earthly connection could fill. "I need answers," she said finally. "Perhaps Eamon can help." Elias nodded, understanding the necessity of her search. "Be wary of Eamon's guidance. His knowledge is vast, but his motives are not without shadows." With a nod of gratitude, Selene turned towards the ancient library where Eamon lingered, a spectral scholar bound by unfinished business. The library loomed ahead, its Gothic spires piercing the night sky like accusatory fingers. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of aged parchment and dust, an olfactory echo of lives long past. "Eamon?" she called softly as she entered, her voice barely more than a whisper. The ghostly figure materialized among the towering shelves, his form flickering like candlelight. "Ah, Selene," Eamon greeted her with a wry smile. "To what do I owe this visit?" "I seek understanding," Selene replied, stepping closer. "You know more about this city and its spirits than anyone else." Eamon's expression turned contemplative. "Understanding is a double-edged sword," he mused. "It can illuminate or blind." Selene met his gaze unflinchingly. "I need to know if my pursuit is driven by destiny or folly." Eamon chuckled softly, a sound like rustling pages. "Destiny is a construct we use to make sense of chaos," he said. "Your journey is yours alone, its meaning defined by your choices." "But what about fate?" Selene pressed. "Am I doomed to repeat these tragedies?" "The future is not set," Eamon replied cryptically. "Each decision shapes it anew." Their conversation continued, rich with philosophical debate and introspection. Eamon posed questions that forced Selene to confront her own motivations and the ethical implications of her actions. Yet, amidst these exchanges lay hidden meanings, clues that might guide or mislead. As they spoke, Selene felt a flicker of hope amidst the shadows, a belief that redemption was possible even in this spectral realm. "Thank you, Eamon," she said finally, her voice carrying a note of newfound resolve. Eamon inclined his head in acknowledgement. "Remember, Selene? True connection transcends boundaries, living or spectral." With those words echoing in her mind, Selene left the library and stepped back into the fog-drenched streets. Her path was uncertain, but determination burned within her heart. She would continue her search for understanding and connection, navigating the delicate balance between light and darkness. As she walked away from the library's looming silhouette, Selene knew that every conversation held potential, a chance to unravel mysteries or become ensnared by red herrings. Yet she welcomed this dance with shadows, knowing that each step brought her closer to uncovering truths about herself and the world she inhabited. The city's whispered secrets accompanied her into the night, a symphony of lost souls seeking closure, their stories entwined with hers in an eternal quest for meaning amidst the spectral haze. Chapter 14. The fog hung low over the city, a thick, swirling veil that wrapped itself around the cobblestone streets like a shroud. Selene moved through it with purpose, her steps echoing softly in the silence. The air was heavy, saturated with the scent of damp earth and decay, as if the city itself were exhaling its secrets into the night. She paused at a familiar corner where the shadows seemed to deepen, pooling like ink in the crevices of the ancient stone walls. Here, beneath the flickering lanterns that cast their spectral glow, she sensed a presence, an echo from the past waiting to be heard. "Selene," a voice called softly, resonant and deep. It was Elias Thorne, his form emerging from the mist like a wraith. His eyes held the weight of countless memories, yet there was a warmth in them that spoke of understanding. "Elias," she replied, her voice a whisper carried on the breeze. "I've been searching for answers." He nodded, stepping closer. "And have you found any?" "Only more questions," she admitted, frustration tinging her words. "Every path seems to lead to another mystery." "Such is the nature of our world," Elias said, his tone gentle yet firm. "But tell me, Selene, what is it you truly seek? Is it answers or something more?" Selene hesitated, caught off guard by the simplicity of his inquiry. She had asked herself this question countless times, yet the answer always eluded her. Her heart ached with an unnameable longing, a yearning that drove her forward, relentless and insistent. "I don't know," she confessed. "Perhaps it's both. I want to understand why I feel this pull, why I'm compelled to find someone who seems to exist only in my dreams." Elias regarded her thoughtfully, his expression unreadable. "Dreams are powerful things, Selene. They can guide us or deceive us. Sometimes what we seek is not out there, but within ourselves." His words lingered in the air between them, a challenge and a truth. Selene felt their weight settle into her soul, stirring something deep within her, a flicker of recognition, perhaps, or hope. "Come!" Elias gestured toward a narrow alleyway that wound deeper into the heart of the city. "There is someone you should meet." Together, they walked in silence, the city unfolding around them like a living tapestry woven from light and shadow. The buildings loomed tall and imposing, their Gothic spires piercing the sky, while twisted branches reached out like skeletal fingers from the gnarled trees lining the avenues. As they turned another corner, Selene caught sight of Eamon, a spectral figure perched atop the steps of an ancient library. His ghostly form shimmered in the moonlight, a testament to his enduring presence in this realm. "Eamon!" Elias called out as they approached. The spectral scholar lifted his gaze from the tome cradled in his translucent hands. His eyes were sharp and piercing, filled with an insatiable curiosity that defied death itself. "Ah, Selene!" Eamon greeted her with a nod, his voice a soft murmur that seemed to echo from some distant past. "I wondered when you might visit again." "I need your help," Selene said without preamble. "There are things I need to understand, about this city, about myself." Eamon's lips curved into a wry smile. "Understanding is a slippery thing, my dear. But I'll do what I can." They settled into conversation, their words weaving an intricate dance of philosophy and introspection. Eamon spoke of history and lore, of the city's spectral inhabitants and the mysteries that lay hidden within its labyrinthine depths. Every soul has its story, he mused, his gaze distant as if seeing beyond the physical world. But not all stories are meant to be understood. Selene listened intently, absorbing each insight like pieces of a puzzle she was desperate to solve. Yet beneath Eamon's scholarly discourse lay an undercurrent of something more, an echo of his own unfulfilled quest for knowledge and meaning. "What about love?" she asked suddenly, catching both men off guard. "Is it just another mystery to be unraveled, or is it something real, something that transcends even death?" Eamon paused, his expression thoughtful. "Love is perhaps the greatest mystery of all," he replied slowly. "It defies logic and reason. It challenges our very understanding of existence." "But can it bridge the gap between worlds?" Selene pressed, her voice tinged with urgency. Elias exchanged a glance with Eamon before answering. "Love is a force unlike any other," he said quietly. "It binds us together across time and space, living or departed." The words resonated within Selene, igniting a spark of hope amidst her uncertainty. Perhaps what she sought was not merely an elusive mate, but a connection that transcended physical boundaries, a bond forged in shared truths and silent understanding. As their conversation drew to a close, Selene felt a sense of clarity begin to emerge from the fog of her thoughts. She still had questions, many more than answers, but there was comfort in knowing she was not alone in her search. Elias and Eamon had become more than guides. They were companions on this journey through shadows and light, a testament to the enduring power of wisdom and compassion in bridging the gap between life and death. As they parted ways beneath the flickering lanterns, Selene felt an unfamiliar sensation bloom within her chest, a tentative seed of hope planted amidst the tangled web of fate and free will. She turned back toward the city's winding streets with renewed determination, ready to face whatever lay ahead in her quest for understanding and connection. For in this shadowy world where every corner held a secret and every shadow told a story, the true magic lay not in what was seen but in what was felt, the intangible bond between realms that whispered promises of redemption and love eternal. Chapter 15. The fog hung heavy over the cobblestone streets, a spectral shroud that seemed to pulse with the city's heartbeat. Selene moved through the mist like a shadow herself, her footfalls silent as she navigated the labyrinthine pathways. The gnarled trees lining the avenue appeared to bow under the weight of their own secrets, whispering in a language only she could understand. Elias Thorne waited at the corner where the street twisted into darkness, his form barely discernible against the gloom. His presence was like a ripple in the fabric of reality, an ethereal reminder that this city was as much a realm of the dead as it was of the living. "Selene," he greeted, his voice carrying a note of cautious warmth. "You've come." "I had no choice," she replied, her words laced with an edge of resignation. "The voices, they're growing louder." Elias nodded, his expression inscrutable beneath the flickering glow of the lanterns. "The spirits are restless. Something stirs them." "Is it me?" Selene's question hung in the air, weighted with self-doubt and a hint of fear. "Perhaps," Elias conceded, "or perhaps it's something within you, a truth waiting to be uncovered." They walked together, their conversation weaving through the fog like threads in a tapestry. Selene felt the familiar tug of Elias's presence, an anchor amidst the chaos of her thoughts. "You've been speaking with Eamon again?" Elias observed, his tone neutral but probing. Selene hesitated, then nodded. "He offers insight and challenges." "Eamon is wise, but he is also bound by his own obsessions," Elias cautioned. "Do not let his thirst for knowledge blind you to your own path." "I know," Selene admitted, "but his questions, they force me to confront things I've avoided." "Confrontation can be a catalyst for growth," Elias said, his gaze steady, "but it can also lead you astray if you're not careful." Selene sighed, the weight of her journey pressing down on her shoulders. "It's all so tangled, Elias. Every step forward feels like another knot in this web." "That's the nature of our existence," Elias replied. "We are both weavers and prisoners of our own designs." Their path led them to the heart of the city, where the air grew thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. The library loomed before them, its Gothic architecture casting long shadows that seemed to breathe with an eerie life of their own. Inside, Eamon awaited them, his spectral form a mere wisp against the towering shelves of forgotten knowledge. His eyes gleamed with an unquenchable curiosity as he regarded Selene. "Ah, Selene," he greeted, a ghostly smile playing on his lips. "Have you come seeking answers or merely more questions?" "Both," she replied honestly, stepping closer to him. "You speak in riddles, Eamon, but I need clarity." "Clarity is often found in chaos," Eamon mused, "or perhaps in the willingness to embrace uncertainty." Elias watched their exchange with an air of quiet contemplation. He understood all too well the delicate dance between seeking wisdom and becoming ensnared by it. "Eamon," Elias interjected gently, "have you considered that some answers are meant to remain elusive?" Eamon chuckled softly, a sound like dry leaves rustling in the wind. "Every mystery holds its own allure, does it not? Even those we may never fully unravel." Selene felt a pang of frustration mingled with admiration for Eamon's relentless pursuit of truth. His presence was both comforting and disconcerting, a reminder that even in death one's desires could persist. "You speak as if you're content with never finding what you seek," Selene challenged. "Contentment is a luxury I cannot afford," Eamon replied, a hint of sorrow in his voice. "But perhaps my role is not to find answers, but to guide others toward their own discoveries." Their dialogue continued, weaving through philosophical debates that danced on the edge of understanding and ambiguity. Elias remained a steady presence, occasionally offering insights that grounded their conversation in reality. As they spoke, Selene felt a shift within her, a subtle realignment of priorities and perceptions. The city's whispers grew softer, as if acknowledging her newfound resolve. Finally, Elias broke the silence that had settled over them like a gentle snowfall. "Selene, your journey is far from over. Each encounter shapes you as much as you shape it." "And what if I'm shaping something dark?" she asked quietly. "Then perhaps you must learn to illuminate it," Elias suggested, "to find the light within yourself that can guide you through the shadows." Eamon nodded in agreement, his gaze piercing yet kind. Even in darkness, there is potential for growth, a chance for redemption. Selene absorbed their words, feeling an unfamiliar warmth spreading through her chest. It was hope, a fragile, flickering flame amidst the vast expanse of uncertainty. As she prepared to leave the library's embrace, Elias placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture both grounding and reassuring. "Remember," he murmured, "you are never alone in this journey. We are all connected by threads unseen." Selene offered him a small smile, an acknowledgement of gratitude and understanding. With renewed determination, she stepped back into the fog-laden streets, her path illuminated by moonlight filtering through the haze. Each step forward felt lighter now, less burdened by doubt and fear. For within her lay the possibility of change, a promise that even amidst moral ambiguity and spectral whispers, there existed a deeper truth waiting to be discovered. And so Selene continued onward, guided by voices both living and departed, toward a destiny yet unwritten but undeniably hers to shape. Chapter 16. The fog clung to the cobblestones like a jealous lover, refusing to let go. Selene walked through the narrow streets, her steps echoing softly in the eerie silence. The city was alive with whispers, stories of the past that brushed against her consciousness like the faintest of breezes. It was here, amidst the shadows and secrets, that she felt most at home. Elias Thorne appeared at her side, his presence as natural as the mist itself. He moved with a grace that belied his spectral form, his eyes carrying the weight of centuries. "Selene," he said, his voice a gentle murmur. "You seem troubled." She paused, glancing up at the gnarled trees that lined the avenue. Their branches reached out like skeletal fingers, grasping at the fog. "It's this place," she replied. "It feels as though it's on the verge of revealing something, yet it remains silent." Elias nodded, understanding her frustration. "The city holds many secrets, but not all are meant to be uncovered." "Or perhaps they're waiting for the right moment," Selene countered, her gaze drifting to the flickering lanterns that cast elongated shadows on the walls. "I need to speak with Eamon again. His insights might help me make sense of these echoes." Elias's expression grew contemplative. "He is a wise soul, but remember, even wisdom has its limits." As they made their way to the ancient library, Selene felt a familiar tug in her chest. a yearning that had driven her for so long. It was this same longing that had brought her to Elias and Eamon, both mentors in their own right. Yet it was a path fraught with moral ambiguity, where each decision carried consequences that rippled through both the living and spectral realms. The library loomed before them, its Gothic architecture a testament to forgotten eras. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of old parchment and lingering spirits. Eamon awaited them amidst the towering shelves, his translucent form flickering like a candle in the wind. "Selene?" he greeted with a nod, his voice resonating with an ethereal quality. "What brings you back to these hallowed halls?" "I'm searching for clarity," she admitted, stepping closer to where he stood by a table strewn with ancient tomes. "There are questions I can't seem to answer alone." Eamon's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Questions are the lifeblood of discovery. What troubles you?" Selene hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "It's about my search for a mate. Every encounter leaves behind echoes of regret." Eamon regarded her thoughtfully. "Regret is a powerful emotion, often tied to choices we wish we could undo, but it can also be a guide, a reminder of paths not taken and opportunities lost." "Yet these echoes haunt me," Selene confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Each failed encounter feels like another life extinguished." Eamon leaned forward, his gaze intense. "Perhaps it's not about finding someone who completes you, but understanding why you seek completion at all." His words struck a chord within her, reverberating through her soul. Was her quest truly about love, or was it something deeper, an attempt to fill a void she couldn't comprehend? Elias interjected softly. "Your journey is as much about self-discovery as it is about finding another." Selene nodded slowly, absorbing their wisdom. "But what if my actions cause more harm than good? How do I reconcile that?" Eamon's smile was wistful. "We all leave echoes behind us, Selene. It's how we choose to respond to those echoes that defines us." Their conversation lingered in her mind as she left the library, Elias accompanying her back into the fog-laden streets. The city's whispers seemed louder now, each step resonating with unspoken stories. "Elias," she began after a moment of silence, "do you ever regret your choices?" He glanced at her, his expression unreadable. "Regret is part of existence, whether living or spectral. But I've learned to see it as a lesson, a chance to grow." His words resonated with an unexpected truth. In this world where the lines between light and darkness blurred so effortlessly, perhaps growth was the only constant. As they walked beneath the moonlit sky, Selene felt a shift within her, a subtle change in perspective. Her quest was far from over, but she was beginning to understand that it wasn't just about finding a mate, it was about unraveling the tangled threads of her own soul. The city's heart beat quietly around them, each shadow holding secrets yet to be revealed. And as they disappeared into the mist, Selene knew that her journey was only just beginning. A journey not only through shadowy streets, but through the depths of her own being. The fog wrapped around them like an embrace, whispering promises of what lay ahead, a future still shrouded in mystery and possibility. Chapter 17. The fog hung thick in the labyrinthine city, a spectral shroud that softened the harsh edges of reality and blurred the lines between the living and the departed. Selene moved through the cobblestone streets with purpose, her silhouette a shadow among shadows. The moonlight, pale and insistent, cast its silvery veil over her path, illuminating the twisted branches of trees that reached out like skeletal fingers. Elias Thorne's voice broke the silence, a whisper that seemed to emanate from the very air around her. "Selene," he said, his tone both gentle and insistent. "Have you considered what it means to seek your true mate in a place such as this?" She paused, her breath forming delicate clouds in the chill night air. "Every step I take is a question, Elias," she replied, her voice carrying a note of weary resolve. "But I must find him. It's more than just a quest. It's a need that gnaws at my soul." Elias materialized beside her, his form an ethereal echo of the man he once was. His eyes, pools of ancient wisdom, met hers. "And yet, every encounter leaves you more entangled in this city's web. Each soul you touch adds another layer to your burden." Selene nodded, feeling the weight of his words settle upon her shoulders. "I know," she admitted. "But isn't that the nature of love? To risk everything for the chance of something real?" Elias sighed, a sound that seemed to ripple through the fog. Love is many things, Selene, but it should not be a chain that binds you to tragedy. They walked together in silence, the city around them alive with whispers and echoes. The architecture loomed overhead, Gothic spires reaching skyward like prayers frozen in stone. Each building seemed to lean inward, conspiring to keep its secrets hidden from prying eyes. Their destination lay ahead, an abandoned mansion known only as the architect's legacy. Its facade was a testament to faded grandeur, its windows dark and unyielding. Selene hesitated at the threshold, sensing the presence of restless spirits within. "Do you feel them?" Elias asked, his gaze fixed on the mansion. "I do," Selene replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "They're waiting for something, someone to set them free." Elias's expression softened with understanding. "Then let us hope they find what they seek." Inside, the air was thick with memories and dust. Selene's footsteps echoed through the empty halls, each step a reminder of those who had walked here before her. She reached out with her gift, feeling the brush of spectral hands against her skin. A voice emerged from the shadows, rich with curiosity and tinged with sadness. "Why have you come here?" It was Eamon, the spectral scholar whose presence haunted these halls like an unfinished symphony. He drifted into view, his form translucent yet strikingly real. "Eamon," Selene greeted him with a nod. "I've come seeking answers, about this place, about myself." Eamon regarded her with a contemplative gaze. "Answers are elusive things, much like the ghosts that wander these halls. Are you prepared for what you might find?" Selene met his gaze unflinchingly. "I am," she said simply. Eamon drifted closer, his ethereal presence both comforting and unsettling. "The architect's legacy holds many secrets," he murmured, "but not all of them are meant to be uncovered." "What do you mean?" Selene pressed, her curiosity piqued. "The architect who built this mansion was driven by an obsession," Eamon explained. "He sought to defy mortality itself, weaving his essence into these very walls. But in doing so, he created a prison, for himself and those who followed him." Selene felt a chill run down her spine. "A prison? For souls?" Eamon nodded slowly. "Yes, and now they linger here, caught between worlds." Elias interjected gently, his voice a soothing balm. "Perhaps it's time to release them from their bonds." Selene considered his words carefully. Her journey had always been about finding connection, bridging the gap between life and death, love and loss. Perhaps freeing these trapped souls was part of that path. "How do we do it?" she asked. Eamon's eyes glinted with something akin to hope. "By acknowledging their pain and offering them closure." Selene took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. She could feel the weight of expectation pressing down upon her, both from within and from the spirits who watched her every move. Together with Elias and Eamon, she began to weave a tapestry of words, a dialogue that transcended time and space. They spoke of love and regret, hope and despair, each word resonating through the mansion's bones like a song long forgotten. As they spoke, Selene could sense the spirits stirring around them, their presence growing stronger with each passing moment. It was as if they were awakening from a long slumber, drawn to the promise of liberation. The air crackled with energy as Selene reached out once more, this time not as a seeker, but as a guide offering solace to those who had been lost for too long. In that moment of connection, when past met present in perfect harmony, she felt something shift within herself. An understanding that went beyond words or logic, a truth that resonated deep within her soul. And then it happened. The spirits began to fade away one by one, their forms dissolving into light as they found release from their earthly bonds. Selene watched them go with mixed emotions, relief mingled with sadness, joy tempered by sorrow. Beside her stood Elias and Eamon, their expressions reflecting both pride in what they had accomplished together and acceptance of what must come next. "You did well," Elias said softly as he placed an ethereal hand on her shoulder. Selene smiled faintly at his praise, but knew there was still much left undone, many questions yet unanswered, many mysteries still waiting patiently for discovery beneath this city's shrouded veil. As she turned toward new horizons with Elias at her side as mentor and friend, Eamon offering guidance from beyond, she felt renewed determination coursing through her veins. To continue seeking truth wherever it might lead, to embrace love even when it seemed elusive, to honor those whose stories remained untold. For in this world where lines blurred between realms both seen and unseen, every conversation held promise, every shadow whispered possibility, and every step forward brought Selene closer toward finding what truly mattered most: connection with herself, with others, with destiny itself. Chapter 18. The fog clung to the cobblestones like a persistent memory, refusing to dissipate as Selene made her way through the labyrinthine streets. Each step was a soft echo in the oppressive silence, the city's heart beating in time with her own. She felt the weight of the past pressing against her, a constant reminder of the souls she had encountered and the lives she had touched, and sometimes extinguished. Tonight, her path led to the ancient library, a place where shadows whispered secrets, and the air was thick with the scent of old parchment and forgotten dreams. It was here that Amen lingered, his presence woven into the very fabric of the building. The spectral scholar waited, as he always did, amidst the towering shelves that housed centuries of knowledge. "Selene," Amen's voice emerged from the gloom, a gentle rustle like pages turning. "You've returned." "I have questions," Selene replied, her tone steady but laced with an undercurrent of urgency. She knew Eamon's penchant for philosophical meandering, but tonight she needed clarity. Eamon's form shimmered faintly, a translucent silhouette against the dim light filtering through stained glass windows. "Questions are seeds of understanding," he mused. "What troubles you?" She hesitated, glancing at the rows of books that seemed to lean in, listening. "The spirits, they speak in riddles and half-truths. I seek my true mate, but each encounter feels like a step further from resolution." Aemon regarded her with eyes that held both wisdom and weariness. "Perhaps it is not the spirits who speak in riddles, but your own heart that struggles to interpret them." Selene sighed, frustration mingling with the chill in the air. "Do you think my quest is futile? A pursuit of shadows in a city already shrouded by them?" He floated closer, his presence both comforting and unsettling. "Futility is a matter of perspective. You seek connection, something real in a world that blurs lines between life and death. But tell me, what defines this true mate you pursue?" She paused, considering his question. It was one she had asked herself many times, yet never found an answer that satisfied. "Someone who sees me as I am," she said finally, "beyond the gift and curse that binds me to this realm." Aemon nodded slowly. "And have you considered that perhaps this quest is less about finding someone else and more about understanding yourself?" Her gaze dropped to her hands, ghostly pale in the dim light. "I fear what I might discover." "Fear is but another shadow," Aemon said softly. "And like all shadows, it cannot exist without light." Their conversation wove around them like a tapestry, intricate and layered with meaning. Eamon's words lingered in Selene's mind as she left the library, stepping back into the fog-drenched streets. The city seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her next move. Her footsteps carried her towards Elias Thorne's domain, a place where the boundary between worlds was thinnest. Elias was there, as she knew he would be, his form half hidden by the swirling mist. He greeted her with a nod, his expression inscrutable yet somehow reassuring. "Selene," he said simply. "Elias," she replied, her voice a whisper against the night's stillness. They stood in silence for a moment, an unspoken understanding passing between them. It was Elias who broke it first. "Your journey grows more perilous," he observed. "The spirits grow restless." "I know," Selene admitted. "But I cannot stop now." Elias studied her, his gaze piercing through layers of doubt and determination. "Tell me what you see when you look at this city." She frowned slightly, caught off guard by the question. "I see history, lives lived and lost, secrets buried beneath stone and shadow." "And yourself?" Elias pressed gently. Selene hesitated, feeling exposed beneath his scrutiny. "A seeker," she answered at last, "a bridge between worlds." He nodded, as if satisfied with her response. "Then remember this. Bridges are meant to connect, not divide." His words resonated within her, echoing Eamon's earlier counsel. Selene realized that both men, one living, one spectral, offered perspectives that intertwined with her own internal struggle. As she turned to leave, Elias reached out, not physically, but with a presence that enveloped her like a cloak against the cold. "Be wary of obsession," he cautioned quietly. "It can blind you to what truly matters." Selene nodded, acknowledging his warning even as she felt its weight settle upon her shoulders. The night stretched on as Selene continued her journey through the city's winding alleys and hidden corners. Each encounter left its mark upon her soul, a tapestry woven from threads of hope and despair. With every step forward came new revelations. Yet always there remained unanswered questions, clues scattered like breadcrumbs, leading deeper into mystery's embrace. In this world where living and spectral intertwined seamlessly beneath moonlit skies, where fairies danced unseen beyond fog-shrouded glades, where whispers echoed long after footsteps faded away, Selene walked onward determinedly, seeking truth amidst shadows while grappling with destiny's relentless pull. And though uncertainty lay ahead like an uncharted path awaiting discovery, one thing remained clear. Her journey was far from over. A quest not just for connection, but understanding itself. A search for meaning within existence's intricate dance between light and darkness, love and loss. Humanity entwined eternally with supernatural realms unknown yet ever present within shadowy cities' heartbeats beneath cobblestone streets worn by time itself. Chapter 19. The city lay under a blanket of fog, its cobblestone streets whispering secrets as Selene walked with deliberate steps. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, an aroma that clung to her like the ghosts she communed with. Her eyes, deep pools of mystery, scanned the shadows for signs of life, or what passed for life in this spectral realm. "Elias," she called softly, her voice barely more than a breath against the chill. It was not long before he appeared, his form materializing from the mist like a memory summoned from the depths of her mind. Elias Thorne, the keeper of the forgotten, was a spectral presence of melancholy wisdom. His eyes held centuries of knowledge, yet they flickered with a gentle urgency. "Selene," he greeted, his voice a low rumble that seemed to resonate with the very stones beneath their feet. "What brings you to this corner of our world tonight?" "I'm haunted by questions," she replied, her gaze fixed on the gnarled trees that lined the avenue. Their branches reached out like skeletal hands, grasping at the fog. "This city, it's alive with stories, yet they elude me." Elias nodded, understanding etched into his ethereal features. "Stories are elusive creatures, Selene. They hide in shadows and whispers, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. And if that moment never comes?" Selene's voice wavered, betraying a hint of vulnerability that she rarely allowed herself to show. "Then perhaps it is not the stories that are at fault, but our readiness to hear them." Elias stepped closer, his presence both comforting and challenging. "You seek answers, yet you must also be willing to face the questions they bring." Selene pondered his words, feeling the weight of their truth. Her journey had been one of relentless pursuit, a quest for connection and understanding that often left her teetering on the edge of despair. The spirits she encountered offered glimpses into lives once lived, but their stories were fragments of a greater whole that remained tantalizingly out of reach. "Have you spoken with Eamon recently?" Elias inquired, breaking the silence that had settled between them. "Eamon?" Selene's thoughts drifted to the spectral scholar who haunted the ancient library. In life, he had been a renowned historian and philosopher driven by an insatiable curiosity that persisted even in death. "Yes, I have. He speaks in riddles, as always." Elias chuckled softly. "His riddles hold truths if one knows how to listen." "Perhaps," Selene conceded. "But sometimes I wonder if his pursuit of knowledge blinds him to other truths, truths that cannot be found in books or theories." Elias regarded her with a thoughtful expression. "Eamon's journey is his own, just as yours is yours. Yet in your paths lie intersections, moments where your quests align and illuminate each other." Their conversation was interrupted by the distant tolling of a bell, its sound echoing through the fog-laden streets. It was a reminder of time's passage in a place where time seemed to stand still. "Come," Elias urged gently. "Walk with me a while longer. There is much yet to discuss." They moved through the city together, their footsteps echoing softly against the cobblestones. The architecture loomed around them, Gothic spires and ornate ironwork casting elongated shadows that danced across the facades. Selene felt as though she were traversing a living tapestry, each thread woven with stories untold. As they walked, Elias spoke of his own experiences, of souls he had guided and memories he had safeguarded. His words were laced with an introspective wisdom that resonated deeply with Selene's own quest for meaning. You speak of connections, Elias mused. But have you considered what it means to truly connect? To see beyond the veil of appearances and touch the essence of another's soul? Selene paused, contemplating his question. Her interactions with spirits had always been fraught with tension and ambiguity, each encounter a dance between understanding and misinterpretation. I have tried, she admitted. But it is difficult when the boundaries between realms are so blurred. Elias nodded knowingly. Indeed, it is a delicate balance, one that requires both courage and compassion. Their conversation continued as they ventured deeper into the city's heart, a place where reality and the supernatural coexisted in uneasy harmony. Ghostly figures flitted at the periphery of their vision, ephemeral presences that seemed to hover between worlds. As they approached an ancient courtyard, Selene felt a familiar tug at her soul, a compulsion that gnawed at her insides like an unfulfilled promise. Elias, she began hesitantly, do you believe we are bound by fate or free to forge our own paths? The question hung in the air between them, laden with philosophical weight. I believe, Elias replied slowly, choosing his words with care, that we are given choices, crossroads at which our decisions shape our destiny. Fate may guide us to those moments, but it is our actions that determine where they lead. Selene absorbed his response, feeling both comforted and challenged by its implications. Her journey had been marked by choices, some deliberate, others born of necessity, and each had left its mark upon her soul. As they lingered in the courtyard's eerie silence, Selene realized that her search for connection was not solely about finding another soul to complete hers. It was about understanding herself and embracing the complexity of her existence. The moonlight filtered through the haze above, casting a silvery sheen on their surroundings, a reminder that even in darkness there was beauty to be found. Thank you, Selene whispered, her voice filled with gratitude for Elias's guidance. He inclined his head in acknowledgement, his spectral form shimmering faintly in the moonlit glow. Remember this, Selene. Every shadow holds a secret worth discovering. With those words lingering in her mind like an unfinished melody, Selene knew she would continue her quest, guided by questions unanswered and truths yet revealed. In this labyrinthine city where past and present intertwined like tendrils of mist, she would walk forward, her path illuminated by moonlight and possibility, seeking not only her true mate, but also herself amidst shadows both haunting and beautiful. Chapter 20. The mist hung thick in the air, cloaking the city in a shroud of mystery. Selene moved quietly through the labyrinthine streets, her footsteps echoing softly against the cobblestones. Each step seemed to draw her deeper into the city's embrace, where shadows danced and whispered secrets long buried. She felt the weight of the past pressing in around her, each alleyway a testament to lives lived and lost. The spectral city was alive with stories, its stones humming with untold tales that only she could hear. Her gift, if it could be called that, allowed her to commune with these echoes, unraveling truths that others dared not seek. As she turned a corner, Selene found herself in a small square, the fog parting to reveal a fountain at its center. The water shimmered under the moonlight, casting ethereal reflections that seemed to beckon her closer. It was here she often met Elias Thorne, a spectral figure whose presence was as much a part of the city as the cobblestones themselves. Elias, she called softly, her voice barely more than a whisper against the night. From the shadows emerged Elias, his form flickering like a candle's flame. His eyes held centuries of wisdom and sorrow, reflecting the duality of the world they both inhabited. He nodded in greeting, his expression one of gentle urgency. Selene, he replied, his voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. You sense it too, don't you? The city's unrest. She nodded, her gaze fixed on the fountain's surface. There's something different tonight, a tension in the air. Elias stepped closer, his presence both comforting and disquieting. The spirits are restless. Another tragedy looms. Her heart quickened at his words, a familiar blend of dread and anticipation coursing through her veins. She had learned to trust Elias's instincts. His connection to the spectral realm was profound, his insights invaluable. Have you spoken with them? Selene asked, searching his face for answers. He hesitated, a shadow passing over his features. I have, but their messages are fragmented, riddled with fear and confusion. Selene sighed, frustration mingling with determination. "We must uncover the truth before it's too late." Elias nodded solemnly. "Time is not on our side, Selene. We must act swiftly." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden chill that swept through the square, the air growing heavy with an unseen presence. Selene turned instinctively, her senses alert to the shift. "Do you feel it?" Elias asked, his gaze scanning the shadows. "Yes," Selene replied, her voice steady despite the unease creeping into her bones. "Someone, or something, is here." A figure emerged from the darkness, moving with an ethereal grace that marked him as one of the city's spectral denizens. Eamon, the ghostly scholar who haunted the ancient library, approached them with a purpose. "Eamon," Selene greeted him, noting the urgency in his translucent eyes. "Selene, Elias," Eamon began, his voice a whisper carried on the wind. "I've discovered something, a clue perhaps hidden within the library's tomes." Selene's interest piqued. Eamon's knowledge was vast, his insights often illuminating paths she might otherwise overlook. "What have you found?" Eamon gestured towards the library's towering silhouette in the distance. "A passage in an old manuscript, an account of a forgotten tragedy that mirrors what we sense now." Elias frowned thoughtfully. "History repeating itself?" Eamon nodded gravely. "It seems so. The patterns are unmistakable." Selene felt a chill run down her spine. The past and present were intertwined in this city, their echoes reverberating through time. If history was indeed repeating itself, they had little time to prevent another catastrophe. "We must go," Selene said decisively, turning towards the library. Elias and Eamon followed without hesitation, their spectral forms gliding silently beside her. As they made their way through the fog-laden streets, Selene pondered the implications of Eamon's discovery. Each step brought them closer to answers, and potentially to danger. Inside the library's hallowed halls, Eamon led them to a secluded alcove where ancient tomes lined the walls like sentinels guarding forgotten knowledge. He retrieved a weathered book from the shelf, its pages yellowed with age. "Here," Eamon said, opening the book to reveal faded script that spoke of loss and betrayal. Selene read aloud, her voice echoing softly in the dim light. The account detailed a tragedy that had unfolded centuries ago, a love thwarted by fate and vengeance that had spiraled into chaos. Elias listened intently, his expression grave. "If this is indeed a precursor to what we face now—" "We must find a way to break the cycle," Selene interjected, her resolve firm. Eamon nodded in agreement. "But how? The forces at play are complex, interwoven with emotions and destinies beyond our understanding." Selene paused, considering their options. Her journey had been one of seeking connection and truth, both elusive and intertwined with her own identity. Perhaps it was time to confront not just external forces, but also her inner turmoil. "We must delve deeper," she said finally, "not just into history, but into ourselves. Only then can we hope to alter what seems inevitable." Elias placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, a gesture both solid and spectral. "Together," he affirmed. With renewed determination, Selene closed the book and returned it to its place among countless others waiting to share their secrets. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with moral dilemmas and spectral whispers that blurred reality, but she knew she was not alone. As they left the library behind, the mist thickened once more around them, a reminder of the city's enigmatic nature and its hold over all who dwelled within it. Yet amidst the shadows lay hope, a belief that understanding could transcend even death itself. Selene walked on, guided by moonlight and spectral companions who shared her quest for truth and redemption. Together they would face whatever lay ahead, bound by unspoken bonds that defied time and space in this world where every shadow held a secret waiting to be unveiled. Chapter 21. The city lay wrapped in its perpetual shroud of mist, a living tapestry of shadows and whispers. Selene moved through its heart like a specter herself, her footfalls soft against the cobblestones that seemed to pulse with the echoes of lives long past. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and the faint, metallic tang of old secrets waiting to be unearthed. Elias Thorne, the keeper of the forgotten, emerged from the gloom like an apparition. His presence was both comforting and unsettling, a reminder of the world that lay just beyond the veil. He regarded Selene with eyes that held centuries of wisdom. "Selene," he greeted, his voice a gentle murmur that blended with the rustle of unseen wings. You walk these streets as if they hold the answers you seek. They do, Selene replied, her tone resolute. Or at least, they whisper of them. Elias nodded, his ethereal form seeming to flicker in the lantern's glow. And what do these whispers tell you tonight? That I'm close, she said, eyes narrowing as she peered into the fog. But the closer I get, the more elusive it becomes. He studied her, a ghostly figure against the backdrop of skeletal trees. Perhaps it's not the answers that elude you, but the questions themselves. A wry smile played on Selene's lips. You always did have a way of turning things on their head, Elias. It's a gift, he replied lightly, though his gaze was serious. But tell me, Selene, what drives you? Is it truly love you seek, or something else? Her silence was telling. In the quiet that followed, only the distant tolling of a bell punctuated the night. I don't know, she admitted finally. Perhaps it's both. Elias inclined his head, acknowledging her honesty. In this city, where reality and illusion dance so closely, it's easy to lose sight of one's true desires. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden chill, a presence that pressed against Selene's senses like a cold hand. She turned, knowing who she would find there before she saw him. Eamon, she said softly as the spectral scholar materialized beside her. Selene, Eamon acknowledged, his voice carrying the weight of unfinished business. I trust Elias is not leading you astray with his riddles. On the contrary, she replied. His riddles are often more enlightening than straightforward answers. Eamon chuckled, a sound like dry leaves rustling. Indeed, but sometimes answers are what we need. Selene met his gaze, feeling the familiar tug of curiosity. And what answers do you bring me tonight? The library holds many secrets, Eamon began, his form shifting subtly as if stirred by an invisible breeze. But there is one tome, one story that speaks of a connection transcending time and space. Elias frowned slightly. You're speaking of the Chronicle of Echoes? Precisely, Eamon confirmed. It's said to contain accounts of souls bound by fate across lifetimes. Selene's heart quickened at the prospect. Do you think it could help me find what I seek? It's possible, Eamon replied cautiously. But remember, such knowledge comes with its own burdens. Elias interjected gently. Be wary, Selene. The Chronicle is not merely a book. It's a mirror reflecting truths that may be difficult to face. Selene nodded, absorbing their warnings even as her determination grew. I understand, but if there's even a chance it holds the key to my quest, Eamon's expression softened, then it's worth pursuing, but tread carefully. The past has a way of ensnaring those who delve too deeply. With newfound resolve, Selene turned back toward the heart of the city, where the library stood like a sentinel amidst the swirling mists. I'll find it, she vowed softly. Elias and Eamon exchanged a glance, a silent communication born of shared understanding and concern. Then go, Elias urged gently. But remember, Selene, not all shadows conceal darkness. As she walked away, their voices lingered like echoes in her mind. A reminder that in this labyrinthine city where past and present entwined, every step brought her closer to both revelation and peril. The library loomed before her, its Gothic spires reaching toward the heavens like skeletal fingers grasping for stars. Within its hallowed halls lay the Chronicle of Echoes, a tome that might hold answers or unravel everything she believed. Yet as Selene crossed its threshold, she knew one truth above all. Whatever lay beyond would change her forever. Inside the library was a cathedral of silence and shadows. Shelves stretched endlessly into darkness, each laden with books that seemed to hum with latent energy. The air was thick with dust and history, a heady mix that resonated with Selene's own soul. As she moved deeper into this sanctum of knowledge, her footsteps echoed softly like whispers in a forgotten language. The Chronicle awaited her somewhere within these walls, a beacon amidst the obscurity. She paused before an ancient desk where Eamon had once sat in life, a place now marked by spectral presence rather than physical form. Eamon, she called softly into the stillness. His apparition appeared beside her almost immediately, as if summoned by thought alone. You found it, he noted approvingly. Not yet, Selene admitted, but I will. Eamon's translucent form hovered near hers, an ethereal guide through this maze of memory and meaning. You're close, he assured gently, a reflection of Elias's earlier words. But there was something more behind them now. A sense of urgency, perhaps? As they moved together through aisles lined with forgotten tomes, their dialogue continued, a conversation woven from threads spun across time itself. "Why do you seek this knowledge?" Ammon asked quietly, the question hanging between them like mist suspended in moonlight. "For connection," Selene replied simply, and truthfully, for beneath all else, that was what drove her forward through these haunted corridors. "And what will you do when faced with truths you cannot change?" Ammon pressed further, his inquiry probing deeper than mere curiosity. "I'll face them," she answered firmly, though uncertainty lingered beneath bravado. Their exchange continued, each word another step along winding paths leading ever inward toward discovery's core. What if those truths demand sacrifice? Eamon persisted, his tone gentle yet insistent. "Then I'll decide what price I'm willing to pay," Selene responded evenly, her resolve unshaken despite inner turmoil. Together they reached an alcove where light filtered down from stained glass windows, casting kaleidoscopic patterns across worn floorboards. Here rested the Chronicle, a volume bound in leather aged by time itself, its cover embossed with symbols whose meanings danced just beyond comprehension. Selene hesitated only briefly before reaching out to touch its surface, the texture rough under fingertips accustomed to handling fragile relics. As pages turned beneath careful hands, words unfurled secrets long hidden within bindings crafted by unknown artisans whose artistry transcended mortality itself. Beside her, Amen watched silently, a guardian over revelations unfolding before them both, a witness bearing testament unto eternity's unfolding narrative. In those moments suspended between breaths, between heartbeats, the world shifted imperceptibly around them, reality bending unto will's command. And yet, even amidst such transformation, one constant remained, unwavering beneath all else. The pursuit continued, unrelenting, undaunted, undaunted, undaunted! Chapter 22. The city's fog clung to Selene like a shroud as she made her way through the narrow streets, the cobblestones slick beneath her feet. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decay, yet there was something oddly comforting in its constancy. She paused beneath a flickering lantern, its light casting elongated shadows that danced across the facades of Gothic buildings, leaning conspiratorially toward one another. Elias Thorne emerged from the mist, his spectral form barely distinguishable from the swirling fog. "Selene," he greeted, his voice carrying the weight of ages. "You walk these streets as if searching for something lost." "Aren't we all?" Selene replied, her tone tinged with weary defiance. "But it's not just something I'm seeking. It's someone." Elias nodded, his ethereal presence shifting like smoke, and yet every step you take seems to lead you further into this labyrinth of uncertainty. Selene looked away, her eyes tracing the intricate ironwork that adorned a nearby balcony. Is it wrong to hope that amidst all this shadow, there might be a light waiting to guide me? The city holds many secrets, Elias mused, but not all of them are meant to be uncovered. Their conversation was interrupted by the distant tolling of a bell, its sound reverberating through the fog-laden streets. Selene turned toward the source, her heart quickening with an inexplicable sense of urgency. "Do you hear it too?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. Elias's gaze followed hers, his expression unreadable. "The bell tolls for those who listen," he said cryptically. "Perhaps it is time you paid heed to what lies within." Selene nodded, the chill of anticipation coursing through her veins. She knew where the sound would lead her, to the ancient library where Eamon lingered, a ghostly scholar bound to his unfinished work. The library loomed before her, its towering spires piercing the night sky like sentinels guarding forgotten knowledge. As she stepped inside, the air grew colder, and the silence was punctuated only by the soft rustle of pages turning themselves. "Eamon," she called out, her voice echoing through the cavernous hall. A figure materialized amidst the stacks, spectral yet solid in its resolve. "Selene," Eamon greeted with a hint of amusement. "I wondered when you would return." She approached him cautiously, aware of the delicate balance between curiosity and intrusion. "I've been thinking about our last conversation," she confessed, "about fate and free will." Eamon's ghostly visage flickered with interest. "And what conclusion have you reached?" "That perhaps they're not as distinct as I once thought," Selene admitted. "That maybe we're all just threads in a tapestry woven by forces beyond our understanding." Eamon smiled. a rare expression on his ethereal features. "It is a possibility worth considering," he agreed. "But tell me, Selene, does this revelation bring you closer to what you seek?" Selene hesitated, her mind racing with unanswered questions. "I don't know," she replied honestly, "but I feel as though I'm on the verge of something that could change everything." Eamon's gaze softened, his spectral form shimmering with an otherworldly glow. "Then perhaps it is time you embraced the unknown," he suggested gently, "for in doing so you may find the answers you seek." Their dialogue was interrupted by a sudden gust of wind that swept through the library, scattering papers and extinguishing candles. Selene shivered involuntarily, her eyes meeting Eamon's in silent understanding. "The city whispers its secrets to those who listen," Eamon said softly, "but it is up to you to decipher their meaning." With renewed determination, Selene turned toward the exit, her path illuminated by moonlight filtering through stained glass windows. She felt Elias's presence beside her once more, his guidance as steady as ever. "Where will this journey take you next?" Elias inquired, his voice a soothing balm against the uncertainty that lay ahead. Selene paused at the threshold, her heart a tumultuous blend of hope and trepidation. "To places I've never imagined," she replied with quiet conviction. "To truths I've yet to uncover." As she stepped into the night, the city's fog enveloped her once more, an ever-present reminder of the mysteries that awaited within its labyrinthine streets. But for the first time in a long while, Selene felt a glimmer of clarity amidst the shadows, a promise of discovery that propelled her forward into the unknown. And so she walked on, guided by whispers and echoes, determined to unravel the enigma that was both her curse and her salvation. Chapter 23. The fog hung thick and heavy over the cobblestone streets, a spectral veil that seemed to echo with the whispers of the past. Selene moved through the labyrinthine city with a practiced grace, her footsteps barely audible against the stone. The shadows clung to her like an old cloak, familiar and comforting, yet always hinting at secrets just beyond her reach. Elias Thorne emerged from the mist, his form ethereal yet commanding. His presence was a beacon in the gloom, a reminder of the thin line between the living and the spectral that Selene walked every day. "You look troubled, Selene," Elias observed, his voice a soft rumble that seemed to resonate from everywhere and nowhere at once. "It's this city," she replied, her gaze scanning the twisted branches of the gnarled trees lining the avenue. "Every corner holds a secret I can't quite grasp." Elias nodded, his expression thoughtful. "It's not just the city, is it? You've been searching for something more personal." Selene hesitated, her eyes meeting his. "I feel like I'm chasing shadows," she admitted. "Every encounter brings me closer yet further away." Elias's gaze was steady. "Perhaps it's not about finding someone, but understanding what you're truly seeking." She sighed, frustration and yearning mingling in her chest. "I've spoken with so many spirits, heard their stories, their regrets, but none seem to offer the answers I need." Elias stepped closer, his presence a gentle reassurance. "The answers you seek may not be in their stories, but in your own." Selene frowned, the weight of his words settling over her like a shroud. "And what if I can't find them?" "Then perhaps it's time to create your own story," Elias suggested, his tone both encouraging and enigmatic. Their conversation was interrupted by the tolling of a distant bell, its sound cutting through the fog like a knife. Selene turned towards its source, drawn by an inexplicable pull. "The library," Elias said knowingly. "Eamon awaits." They walked together through the shifting shadows, their silence filled with unspoken understanding. The ancient library loomed before them, its Gothic spires piercing the sky like dark sentinels. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of old parchment and forgotten dreams. Eamon's spectral form hovered near a towering stack of books, his translucent fingers tracing the spines with reverence. He looked up as they entered, his eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. "Selene," he greeted, his voice carrying the weight of countless lifetimes. "I've been expecting you." She approached him with a mix of respect and curiosity. "What have you discovered, Eamon?" He gestured to an open tome on the table before him. "This city is a tapestry of lives intertwined. Each thread tells a story, each story a clue." Selene leaned over the book, her eyes scanning the intricate script. "And where does my thread lead?" Eamon's gaze was penetrating, That is for you to determine. But remember, every choice weaves another pattern. She straightened, meeting his gaze with determination. Then I'll make sure it's one worth weaving. Eamon smiled faintly, a ghostly warmth in his expression. Your journey is as much about what you learn from others as what you discover within yourself. Selene nodded, absorbing his words like a balm to her restless soul. Thank you, Eamon. As she turned to leave, Eamon's voice followed her like a shadow. Beware of those who would unravel your thread for their own ends. Outside, the fog seemed to thicken, wrapping around Selene like an old friend. She moved with purpose now, each step resonating with newfound resolve. Elias walked beside her in silence until they reached a fork in the road where their paths diverged. Where will you go now? He asked. She paused, looking down both paths, the familiar route back to her dwelling and another leading deeper into the city's mysteries. I'll follow where the whispers lead, she replied, a note of determination in her voice. Elias nodded approvingly. Then may your steps be guided by more than shadows. With that, Selene ventured into the unknown, feeling Elias's presence linger behind her. A guardian of sorts, watching over her journey from afar. As she disappeared into the fog-laden streets, the city's whispers grew louder, guiding her towards whatever truth awaited at its heart. The dance continued between light and shadow, life and death, and Selene was determined to find her place within it. Chapter 24. The fog hung thick as Selene drifted through the city's maze-like streets, each step echoing softly against the cobblestones. The mist clung to her like a shroud, obscuring the world around her, and blurring the boundary between reality and the spectral realm. She paused beneath a flickering street lamp, its ghostly glow casting elongated shadows that danced across the worn facades of the buildings. "Elias?" she called softly, her voice barely above a whisper. A moment later he materialized from the gloom, his form wavering slightly as though caught between this world and another. Elias Thorne was an enigmatic figure, part guide, part gatekeeper, his presence a comforting constant in Selene's turbulent quest. "Selena," he acknowledged, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. "What troubles you tonight?" "It's Eamon," she replied, brushing a strand of hair from her eyes. His questions linger in my mind. I can't shake the feeling that I'm missing something crucial. Elias nodded, his expression thoughtful. Eamon has a way of stirring thoughts long buried. But remember, not all answers lie in the past. Selene sighed, turning her gaze to the shadowy cityscape. It's just, every encounter leaves me with more questions than answers. I thought this journey would lead me to my true mate, but it feels like I'm chasing phantoms. Perhaps, Elias mused, the phantoms are leading you to truths you haven't yet considered. They walked in silence for a while, the only sound the soft rustle of unseen wings overhead. Selene's mind churned with fragments of conversations and spectral whispers, each one hinting at mysteries she had yet to unravel. "Do you ever wonder," she began tentatively, "if we're meant to find what we seek? Or is it all just a cruel game of fate?" Elias stopped and turned to face her, his eyes reflecting the dim light. Fate is a tapestry woven with threads of choice and chance. You have the power to shape your path, Selene. But beware. Each choice carries its own burden. His words resonated within her, echoing the doubts that had plagued her since the journey began. She had always been driven by an insatiable need for connection, yet every attempt seemed to end in tragedy. As they resumed their walk, the city's labyrinthine streets gave way to a clearing where gnarled trees stood sentinel-like against the fog. Here, Selene felt the presence of spirits more keenly, their whispers brushing against her consciousness like a gentle breeze. "Eamon spoke of love as both a guiding light and a consuming fire," she said, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "How can something so vital be so destructive?" Elias chuckled softly, a sound both warm and haunting. "Love is paradoxical by nature. It reveals our deepest desires while exposing our greatest fears." Selene nodded, her thoughts drifting to past encounters, each man who had crossed her path, each promise of connection that had slipped through her fingers like smoke. "Do you believe I've been searching for love in all the wrong places?" she asked quietly. Elias considered her question carefully before answering. "Your heart knows its own truth, even if your mind struggles to comprehend it. Trust in your instincts, Selene. They may lead you where reason cannot." As they stood together beneath the gnarled branches, Selene felt a shift within herself, a subtle realignment of purpose and resolve. Perhaps it was time to embrace the uncertainties that had haunted her journey and allow them to guide her toward a deeper understanding of what she truly sought. With renewed determination, she turned to Elias. "Thank you," she said sincerely. "Your guidance means more than you know." He inclined his head graciously. "Remember, Selene, every shadow holds a secret, and every secret has its keeper." As they parted ways, Selene felt an unfamiliar sense of hope stirring within her, a belief that perhaps love's true face was not something to be found, but something to be understood. Eamon awaited her in the library's spectral halls, his ghostly form illuminated by the moonlight filtering through stained glass windows. He greeted her with a nod, his expression as inscrutable as ever. "You seem troubled," he observed, his voice echoing softly in the cavernous space. "I am," Selene admitted. "Our last conversation left me with more questions than answers." Eamon's smile was wry. "Questions are the seeds of knowledge. They compel us to seek truths beyond our current understanding." She paced slowly between towering shelves laden with ancient tomes and dusty manuscripts. "But how do I discern which questions lead to truth and which are mere distractions?" "By listening," Eamon replied simply. "To yourself, to others, to the whispers of those who came before." Selene paused beside a table piled high with forgotten texts. "You speak of listening as if it's an art form." "In many ways it is," Eamon agreed. "The world is full of voices clamoring for attention. Discerning which ones hold wisdom requires patience and intuition." Their dialogue flowed like an intricate dance, each step revealing new layers of meaning, while challenging preconceived notions about love and destiny. "Do you believe," Selene ventured hesitantly, "that love can transcend even death?" Eamon's gaze softened as he regarded her thoughtfully. "Love is eternal," he said at last. "It exists beyond time and space, a force that binds souls across realms." His words resonated deeply within her, a reminder that perhaps her quest was not about finding someone else, but about discovering what lay within herself. As they continued their discussion amid flickering candlelight and spectral shadows, Selene felt a growing sense of clarity, a realization that perhaps love's true face was less about seeking perfection and more about embracing imperfection. She thanked Eamon for his insights before departing into the night once more, the city's labyrinthine streets unfolding before her like an endless puzzle waiting to be solved. With each step forward into uncharted territory came renewed determination, a belief that perhaps love's true face was not something to be found, but something to be understood. And so she walked on, guided by instinct and intuition, toward whatever awaited beyond life's veil, where shadows whispered secrets only those willing enough might hear. Chapter 25. The air was thick with the scent of rain-soaked earth as Selene traversed the winding streets of the city, her footsteps muted by the damp cobblestones. The fog clung to her like a persistent memory, whispering secrets she had yet to uncover. Her mind was a tangled web of thoughts, each thread pulling her deeper into the labyrinthine mystery that defined her existence. She paused beneath a gnarled tree, its skeletal branches reaching out as if to ensnare her. The moonlight filtered through the haze, casting an ethereal glow over her surroundings. It was in moments like these that Selene felt the weight of her gift, the ability to commune with spirits, to hear their voices, and feel their lingering emotions. It was both a blessing and a curse, binding her to a world where the living and spectral coexisted in uneasy harmony. A familiar presence stirred at the edge of her awareness. Elias Thorne emerged from the shadows, his form as insubstantial as the mist that surrounded him. His eyes, pools of ancient wisdom, met hers with a gentle intensity. "Selene," he greeted, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. "You wander these streets as if searching for something more than answers." She nodded, acknowledging the truth in his words. "I'm searching for clarity, Elias. Each encounter leaves me with more questions than answers." He stepped closer, his spectral form flickering like a candle in the wind. "Clarity is a rare commodity in this world, but perhaps it is not clarity you seek, but understanding." Selene considered this, her gaze drifting to the horizon where the city's spires pierced the night sky. "Understanding. Yes! But how do I find it when every path seems shrouded in shadow?" Elias regarded her with a mixture of empathy and challenge. By questioning your own motives. What drives you to seek your true mate? Is it love or something else? The question lingered in the air between them, a specter demanding recognition. Selene felt the familiar pang of doubt, a reminder of the moral ambiguity that colored her quest. She had encountered many men, each promising connection, yet leaving behind only echoes of lives cut short. Perhaps it's redemption, she admitted softly, a chance to reconcile with my past. Elias's expression softened, his voice imbued with a quiet urgency. Redemption is not found in others, but within oneself. You must confront your own fears and desires before you can hope to find peace. Their dialogue was interrupted by the distant tolling of a bell, a mournful sound that resonated through the fog-laden streets. It was a reminder of the time slipping away, of lives lived and lost in this city where the past and present intertwined. Selene turned her attention back to Elias, determination stealing her resolve. I will find my way, Elias, even if it means facing my darkest truths. He nodded, satisfied with her resolve. Remember, Selene, that every choice you make shapes not only your destiny, but the destinies of those around you. With those parting words, Elias dissolved into the mist, leaving Selene alone once more. She resumed her journey through the city, her mind a tumult of thoughts and emotions. As she walked, she became aware of another presence, a figure waiting in the shadows ahead. It was Eamon, the spectral scholar whose knowledge of the city's history was unparalleled. His ghostly form hovered near the entrance of an ancient library, a place he had once cherished in life. Eamon, she greeted, her voice laced with curiosity. What brings you here tonight? His eyes glimmered with an intellectual fervor that transcended death itself. I've been pondering our last conversation about fate and free will. Have you given it further thought? Selene hesitated, recalling their previous debates, conversations that had challenged her beliefs and forced her to confront uncomfortable truths. I have, she admitted, but I still struggle with the concept. How can we be free when so much seems predetermined? Eamon's laughter echoed through the night, a sound both haunting and comforting. Ah, Selene, that's the beauty of it. Our choices may be influenced by myriad factors, yet they remain ours to make. Their dialogue flowed effortlessly, weaving through philosophical debates on justice and morality. Eamon's insights were invaluable, his perspective as a ghost offering unique clarity amidst the chaos. As they spoke, Selene felt a shift within herself, a gradual loosening of the emotional armor she wore so tightly. Eamon's presence reminded her that even in death, there was wisdom to be gained and connections to be forged. Their conversation eventually turned to more immediate matters, the clues and red herrings scattered throughout her quest for truth. There's something you should know, Eamon said suddenly, his tone grave. A new spirit has been seen wandering near the old cathedral, a place significant to your search. Selene's heart quickened at this revelation. The cathedral was a place steeped in history and mystery, a potential key to unlocking the secrets she sought. Thank you, Eamon, she said earnestly. Your guidance is invaluable. He inclined his head, his spectral form shimmering in the moonlight. Remember, Selene, every shadow holds a story waiting to be told. With renewed purpose, Selene set off towards the cathedral, her mind racing with possibilities. The city's whispers seemed to grow louder as she approached, an orchestra of voices urging her onward. Yet beneath this symphony lay an undercurrent of tension, a sense that each step brought her closer to an inevitable confrontation with destiny itself. As Selene reached the cathedral's entrance, she paused, her hand resting on the weathered stone door. She knew that beyond lay revelations both profound and unsettling, a choice that would define not only her journey, but also her understanding of love and redemption. Taking a deep breath, she pushed open the door and stepped into the darkness beyond, her heart steady with resolve and anticipation. The Keeper's choice awaited her within, an opportunity to embrace or redefine what it meant to be truly connected in a world where life and death danced eternally at dusk's edge. Chapter 26. The fog was thick tonight, casting a silver sheen over the cobblestone streets as Selene made her way through the labyrinthine city. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a familiar cloak that wrapped around her like a second skin. She moved with purpose, her steps echoing softly, a rhythmic beat against the silent whispers of the past. As she approached the ancient library, the towering spires loomed above, their Gothic facades shadowed and mysterious. The ornate ironwork on the windows seemed to twist and writhe in the flickering lantern light, casting elongated shadows that danced across the street. Selene paused at the entrance, taking a moment to steady herself before pushing open the heavy wooden doors. Inside, the library was a world unto itself, a repository of knowledge both living and spectral. The scent of old parchment mingled with something more ethereal, a ghostly presence that lingered in every corner. Shelves stretched towards the vaulted ceiling, crammed with volumes that whispered secrets of ages past. It was here that Eamon resided, his spirit bound to this place of learning by a thirst for knowledge that death had not quenched. "Eamon," Selene called softly, her voice barely more than a breath against the silence. A figure materialized before her, translucent and shimmering in the dim light. Eamon's spectral form was both familiar and otherworldly, his eyes bright with an insatiable curiosity that seemed to pierce through the veil between realms. "Selene," he greeted, his voice carrying an echo of warmth from lives long past. "What brings you here tonight?" "I seek answers," she replied, stepping closer. "The spirits grow restless, their whispers more insistent. I need to understand what binds them." Eamon nodded, his gaze thoughtful. "The boundaries are thinning. The city itself is a tapestry woven with threads of time and memory. Each spirit holds a piece of this puzzle." "And yet," Selene countered, "each encounter leads me further from clarity. I fear I'm losing sight of my purpose." Eamon regarded her with a mixture of sympathy and challenge. "Purpose is a fluid thing, Selene. It shifts as we do, molded by our actions and desires. Perhaps it is not answers you seek, but understanding." Selene sighed, the weight of his words settling heavily upon her. "Understanding, it's elusive, like trying to grasp smoke." "Yet it is in the pursuit that we find meaning," Eamon replied gently. "Tell me, what troubles your heart?" Selene hesitated, her guarded nature warring with a need to unburden herself. "Each life I touch seems to end in tragedy," she confessed at last. "I fear I am more hunter than seeker." Eamon's gaze softened. "We are all hunters in our own way, seeking what we believe will complete us. But we must tread carefully, lest we become ensnared by our own desires." His words hung in the air, resonating with an unsettling truth that Selene could not deny. She turned away, her eyes tracing the familiar lines of bookshelves that had become both sanctuary and prison. "Elias speaks of redemption," she murmured, almost to herself. "But how can I find redemption when my actions bring only sorrow?" "Redemption is not a destination, but a journey," Eamon replied, his voice a soothing balm against her troubled thoughts. "It is found in moments of choice, in the paths we take and those we leave behind." Selene nodded slowly, feeling the weight of his wisdom settle within her. Yet doubt lingered, an insidious whisper that threatened to unravel her resolve. "Eamon," she said quietly, turning back to face him, "what if my choices lead only to darkness?" "Then you must light your own way," he answered simply, his spectral form shimmering with an inner light that seemed to defy the shadows around them. Their conversation drifted into silence, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Selene knew she would find no easy answers here, only guidance and the promise of companionship on her journey. As she turned to leave, Eamon's voice followed her like a gentle breeze. "Remember, even in darkness, there is always hope." Outside, the fog had thickened further, wrapping the city in an impenetrable shroud. Selene walked on, her footsteps guided by instinct rather than sight. The spectral whispers were louder now, weaving through her thoughts like strands of a forgotten melody. It was Elias who awaited her at the edge of an abandoned square, a figure both solid and ephemeral under the moon's watchful eye. His presence was a comfort amidst the chaos of her mind. "Did you find what you sought?" he asked as she approached. "Not quite," Selene admitted, drawing close to him, "but perhaps I found something more valuable." Elias nodded knowingly, his eyes reflecting a depth of understanding that spoke of lifetimes lived and lost. "The city is restless tonight," he observed, casting his gaze towards the shadowed alleys that surrounded them. "Yes," Selene agreed, feeling the tension in the air like a living thing. "Something stirs beneath the surface, a truth waiting to be revealed." "Then let us uncover it together," Elias suggested, offering his hand as both anchor and guide. Selene accepted gratefully, feeling the warmth of connection in his touch, a reminder that she was not alone on this journey through shadows and secrets. Together they moved forward into the night, a scholar and a keeper navigating the delicate balance between realms in search of redemption and understanding. As they ventured deeper into the city's heart, Selene felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, a fragile flame against the encroaching darkness. For in this world where every shadow held a secret and every whisper carried a story untold, there remained one constant truth. Even amidst uncertainty and doubt, there was always a path forward, a path illuminated by shared purpose and unwavering resolve. Chapter 27. The city was a tapestry of shadows and whispers, a place where the cobblestones seemed to murmur secrets as Selene walked their worn paths. Tonight the fog was particularly thick, curling around her ankles like a living thing. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and something else, something indefinable that spoke of memories long buried. She moved with purpose, her cloak trailing behind her like a shadow. The streets were labyrinthine, each turn leading deeper into the city's heart, where the past and present danced in a perpetual waltz. It was here, amidst the echoes of those long departed, that she sought answers. Elias Thorne awaited her at the edge of the city's forgotten quarter. The Keeper of the Forgotten, as he was known, stood beneath an ancient archway, his form half obscured by the swirling mist. His presence was both spectral and solid, an enigma in a world where such paradoxes were commonplace. "Selene," he greeted her, his voice a soft rumble that seemed to resonate with the very stones beneath their feet. "You seek the architect's confession." She nodded, her eyes searching his for some hint of what lay ahead. "I need to understand," she replied. "The past is a web I've only begun to untangle." Elias gestured for her to follow, leading her through a narrow alley where the buildings leaned in conspiratorially. "Be cautious," he warned, his voice barely above a whisper. "Truth is a double-edged sword." They emerged into a courtyard bathed in moonlight, its center dominated by a fountain that had long since run dry. Here, amidst the ruins of forgotten grandeur, they found Eamon. His ghostly form hovered near the library's crumbling entrance, his spectral visage illuminated by an ethereal glow. "Eamon!" Selene called softly, drawing the spirit's attention. The ghostly scholar turned, his eyes alight with an unending curiosity. "Selene," he acknowledged with a nod. "I trust Elias has prepared you for what lies within." She glanced at Elias, who offered a faint smile. "As much as one can be prepared," he said cryptically. Eamon gestured towards the library's shadowed interior. "The architect's confession is not merely words etched in stone or ink on parchment. It is a living memory, a fragment of time preserved within these walls." Selene hesitated at the threshold, sensing the weight of history pressing down upon her. "And this memory, it holds the truth?" "It holds a truth," Eamon corrected, his tone laced with caution. "But remember, Selene, truth is often colored by perspective." With a deep breath, she stepped inside. The library was a cathedral of knowledge, its shelves lined with tomes that whispered stories of ages past. Dust motes danced in the air, caught in beams of moonlight that filtered through cracked windows. As she moved deeper into the library's embrace, the temperature dropped noticeably. A chill swept over her skin, raising goosebumps despite her resolve. She could feel the presence of spirits here, restless souls drawn to this repository of forgotten lore. Eamon floated beside her, his form flickering like a candle in the wind. "The architect's confession is hidden within the walls themselves," he explained, guiding her to a section where the books seemed untouched by time. Selene reached out tentatively, her fingers brushing against the spines of ancient volumes. As she did, a low hum resonated through the air, a vibration that thrummed with energy and intent. "Do you hear it?" Elias asked from behind her, his voice barely audible above the library's spectral symphony. She nodded, closing her eyes to focus on the sound. It was a melody of sorts, woven from whispers and echoes, a song sung by voices long silenced. "This is where you must listen," Eamon urged gently. "Let the memory speak to you." With practiced ease, Selene opened herself to the flow of spectral energy coursing through the room. Her gift was both blessing and curse, allowing her to commune with spirits, but also binding her to their pain and longing. The hum intensified, becoming a chorus that filled her mind with images and sensations. She saw flashes of architectural plans, blueprints sketched with precision and passion. She felt the architect's hands shaping stone and mortar, imbuing them with purpose and vision. But beneath the surface lay something darker, a shadow that tainted each stroke of genius with regret and despair. The architect's confession unfolded before her in fragments, a life consumed by ambition, a soul weighed down by choices made in pursuit of greatness. Selene gasped as understanding dawned, a revelation that struck like lightning in her mind. The architect had been driven not by artistry alone, but by a desire to transcend mortality itself. His creations were monuments to immortality, a futile attempt to escape the inevitable embrace of death. The architect sought eternity, she murmured aloud, piecing together the puzzle before her. Elias nodded solemnly. And in doing so, he lost sight of what truly mattered. Connection, compassion, love. Eamon's gaze was steady as he added, "His legacy endures in stone and shadow, but his spirit remains trapped by his own hubris." Selene felt a pang of sympathy for the long-dead architect, a kindred soul who had fallen prey to his own obsessions. In his quest for permanence, he had become ensnared in a cycle of creation and destruction. "What now?" she asked quietly, turning to Elias and Eamon for guidance. "You have seen his truth," Elias replied softly. "It is up to you to decide how it shapes your path." Eamon offered a small smile, a rare expression for one so bound by spectral constraints. Perhaps there is wisdom yet to be gained from his folly. As Selene stood amidst the library's silent sentinels, she pondered their words. The architect's confession was both warning and insight, a reminder that even in darkness, there could be light if one dared to seek it. With newfound clarity, she stepped back from the brink of despair, determined to forge her own path through this labyrinthine city, where past and present intertwined like tendrils of mist. Outside, the fog had lifted slightly, revealing glimpses of starlit skies beyond gnarled branches reaching towards infinity. In this world where every shadow held secrets waiting patiently for discovery. Selene knew she was not alone on her journey towards understanding, and perhaps redemption, too, awaited those willing enough to face their deepest fears head-on. The night stretched endlessly before them, a canvas painted with possibility as they ventured forth into its enigmatic embrace once more. Chapter 28. Selene wandered through the fog-laden streets, her footsteps echoing softly against the cobblestones. The city felt alive, its pulse a steady thrum beneath her feet, each beat resonating with the whispers of the departed. She paused beneath a gnarled tree, its branches like skeletal fingers entwined with mist, and listened to the haunting symphony of souls that filled the air. A familiar voice broke the silence. "You seem troubled, Selene." Elias Thorne emerged from the shadows, his spectral form barely distinguishable from the mist that clung to him. His presence was both comforting and unsettling, like an old melody that stirred forgotten memories. "I've been thinking," Selene replied, her voice barely a whisper, "about the lines we walk, between justice and vengeance." Elias inclined his head, his eyes reflecting the city's ethereal glow. "And what have you concluded?" "Nothing," she admitted. "Each step I take seems to lead me further into darkness." "Perhaps it is not about finding answers," Elias suggested, "but understanding the questions." Selene pondered his words as they continued through the labyrinthine streets, their path illuminated by lanterns that flickered with an otherworldly light. She had spent countless nights in this spectral city, seeking something that eluded her, a connection that would fill the void, gnawing at her soul. Their journey led them to an ancient library where Eamon awaited them. His ghostly form hovered near a towering shelf, its books worn and weathered by time. "Ah, Selene!" Eamon greeted, his voice a blend of curiosity and melancholy. "What brings you to this repository of forgotten knowledge?" "I'm searching for something," Selene replied, her gaze drifting over the spines of countless tomes. "Something that might guide me." Eamon regarded her with a thoughtful expression. "Guidance is often found in unexpected places. But tell me, what is it you truly seek?" "Understanding," she said softly, "of myself, of this world." Eamon nodded, his spectral presence flickering like a candle in the wind. Knowledge is a double-edged sword. It can illuminate or blind, depending on how it is wielded. Their conversation danced around philosophical themes, each exchange rich with subtext and hidden meanings. Eamon's insights were invaluable, yet they often left Selene with more questions than answers. As they spoke, Selene felt a shift within herself, a growing awareness of the moral complexities she faced. Her journey was not just about finding a mate, but reconciling the disparate parts of her soul. Elias watched their interaction with quiet intensity. "Selene, have you considered that perhaps your search is not meant to end? That it is the journey itself that defines you?" His words resonated deeply, stirring something within her. The notion that her quest was an eternal dance between fate and free will, a dance where every step mattered, was both daunting and liberating. As dawn approached, casting a silvery light over the city, Selene knew she had reached a turning point. The unresolved tension within her could no longer be ignored. It demanded resolution. "Elias," she said finally, "I must confront my past if I'm ever to move forward." He nodded solemnly. "Then let us do so together." With Eamon's guidance and Elias's unwavering support, Selene embarked on a new path, one that promised discovery and danger in equal measure. As they ventured deeper into the city's heart, she realized that every conversation was a clue. Every shadow held a story waiting to be told. The journey ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but Selene embraced it with newfound determination. In this world where the living and spectral intertwined, she would forge her own destiny, one guided by understanding rather than fear. As they disappeared into the misty embrace of the city, Selene felt a sense of hope blossoming within her, a belief that redemption and connection were within reach, even amidst the shadows of doubt and despair. Chapter 29. As the moon hung low over the city, its silvery light casting a ghostly pallor across the cobblestone streets, Selene found herself standing at the precipice of another choice. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth, each breath drawing in a sense of foreboding that clung to her like a shroud. She could feel the whispers of the departed brushing against her skin, their stories aching to be heard. Her eyes drifted across the labyrinthine maze of alleys and archways, searching for the familiar silhouette of Elias Thorne. He had promised to meet her here, at the edge of the forgotten quarter where the living dared not tread. It was a place where time seemed to fold in on itself, past and present entwined in an eternal dance. As if summoned by her thoughts, Elias emerged from the shadows, his form both ethereal and solid. His presence was a balm to her restless spirit, a reminder that she was not alone in this spectral world. He approached with his usual measured grace, his eyes reflecting the weight of untold centuries. "Selene," he greeted, his voice carrying the warmth of a mentor and the gravity of a keeper of secrets. "You've come seeking answers again." "Always," Selene replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "But tonight feels different. There's something pressing." Elias nodded, understanding without need for explanation. He gestured for her to walk with him, their footsteps echoing softly against the cobblestones as they ventured deeper into the city's heart. "You sense it too," he said, more a statement than a question. "The city is restless. The spirits are agitated." Selene glanced at him, her brow furrowed with concern. "Another tragedy?" "Perhaps," Elias mused, his gaze distant as if peering beyond the veil that separated their world from the next. "Or perhaps it's merely a reflection of your own turmoil." She fell silent, considering his words. Her gift, if it could be called that, was both a blessing and a curse. It allowed her to bridge the gap between realms, to speak with those who had passed beyond. But it also bound her to their unfinished stories, their unresolved pain. "I met someone last night," Selene confessed after a pause. "A man named Eamon. He spoke of things I can't quite grasp." Elias's expression shifted subtly, a flicker of recognition passing through his eyes. "Eamon is one of the city's oldest souls, a scholar in life and in death. He has much to teach, but his knowledge comes with its own burdens." They walked in silence for a moment, the only sound the gentle rustle of unseen wings above them. The city's architecture loomed around them, Gothic spires and Victorian facades leaning inward as if conspiring to keep their secrets hidden. "Elias," Selene began hesitantly, "do you ever wonder if we're meant to find answers? Or are we just chasing shadows?" Elias stopped, turning to face her with an intensity that belied his spectral form. "We are seekers by nature, Selene. But the answers we find often raise more questions. It's not about finding closure. It's about understanding ourselves through the search. The words resonated within her, stirring something deep and unspoken. She had been driven by an inexplicable yearning, a compulsion that gnawed at her soul to find her true mate. But each encounter ended in tragedy, leaving behind echoes of lives cut short. "Is it wrong to want more?" she asked softly, vulnerability creeping into her voice. "No," Elias replied gently, "but wanting more means facing what you fear most, your own reflection." As they continued their walk, Selene pondered his words. Her quest had always been about connection, bridging the gap between life and death, understanding love and loss. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that she was missing something essential. The path led them to an ancient library nestled within the city's winding streets. It was a place where history lived and breathed, where Amun's spirit lingered among the dusty tomes and forgotten scrolls. Elias paused at the threshold, allowing Selene to enter first. She felt a chill pass over her as she stepped inside, an acknowledgement from the spectral scholar who resided within. "Eamon?" she called softly into the dimly lit space. The air shimmered before her, coalescing into the form of a man whose features were etched with wisdom and melancholy. Eamon's presence was both comforting and unsettling, a reminder of how thin the line between realms truly was. "Selene," he greeted with a nod, his voice echoing as if carried on the wind. "You've returned." "I have questions," she admitted, "about fate, free will, about why I can't seem to find what I'm looking for." Eamon regarded her thoughtfully, his gaze piercing yet kind. "The search for meaning is as old as time itself," he said, "but perhaps you're asking the wrong questions." Selene frowned slightly, intrigued despite herself. "What do you mean?" "Consider this," Eamon proposed, leaning closer as if sharing a secret known only to ghosts and those who dared listen. "Is it destiny that guides us? Or is it our choices that shape destiny?" His words hung in the air like a challenge, a riddle wrapped in enigma. Selene felt a pang of recognition. These were questions she had wrestled with in quiet moments when doubt crept in like fog over cobblestones. "I don't know," she confessed finally. "Then perhaps that's where your journey truly begins," Eamon suggested with a faint smile. Their conversation continued late into the night, an exchange rich with philosophical debate and introspection, until exhaustion pulled at Selene's consciousness like gentle hands urging rest. As dawn approached, Elias reappeared at her side, a silent guardian amidst shadows, and together they left Eamon's library behind once more. Yet even as they stepped back into mist-laden streets, bathed now in early morning light, filtering through skeletal branches above them, Selene knew this was not an end, but another beginning. A new chapter unfolding within pages yet unwritten, a dance between light and darkness, still waiting its final steps upon cobblestones, echoing stories untold. In this spectral city where every shadow held secrets waiting for voice, Selene walked onward, guided by moonlight casting silvery sheen upon surroundings, seeking answers, elusive yet tantalizingly close, each conversation another clue leading toward resolution, both satisfying, thought-provoking. And so her journey continued, a haunting quest for truth, connection, redemption amidst echoes past, present, intertwining like tendrils, mist, weaving intricate tapestry, human emotion, morality. For here lay magic not seen felt, the intangible link realms, the echo footsteps long gone, the eternal search understanding place world alive dead, inextricably linked. Chapter 30. The fog lay thick over the city, a spectral shroud that seemed to draw its breath from the whispers of the departed. Selene moved through the cobblestone streets, her footsteps echoing softly in the silence. The air was saturated with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a reminder of the world she inhabited, one where the boundary between life and death was as thin as the veil of mist that enveloped her. She paused at the entrance to an alleyway, its mouth yawning like a dark chasm. There, in the shadows, stood Elias Thorne. His form was indistinct, more suggestion than substance, yet his presence was unmistakable, a haunting blend of authority and melancholy. As Selene approached, he inclined his head in a gesture that was both greeting and acknowledgement of their shared purpose. "Elias," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I hoped you would be here." "You knew I would," Elias replied, his words carrying the weight of centuries. There are few places I can go, fewer still that would welcome me. Selene nodded, understanding all too well the constraints that bound him. I need your counsel. I've been hearing things, whispers on the wind, voices in the shadows. They speak of a legacy, something I must find. Elias regarded her with eyes that seemed to pierce through to her very soul. The Keeper's legacy, he mused. A tale as old as this city itself. What do you know of it? Only fragments, Selene admitted, frustration tinging her words. Hints and half-truths. I thought perhaps you might guide me. Elias sighed, a sound like the rustle of dry leaves caught in a gust. The legacy is more than mere myth, Selene. It is a tether, a binding force that holds this city together. But to seek it is to walk a path fraught with peril. Selene met his gaze, unflinching. I've faced peril before. True, Elias conceded, but this is different. The legacy is not just a thing to be found, it is a choice to be made. It will demand much of you. And if I refuse, Selene asked, though she already knew the answer, then the city will continue to decay, Elias replied solemnly. Its stories will fade into oblivion, and those who linger here will never find peace. Selene felt a chill pass through her, colder than the fog that wrapped around them. I can't let that happen. Elias nodded, his expression softening slightly. I thought as much. You have always been one to shoulder burdens not your own. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden gust of wind that swept through the alley, carrying with it an echo of laughter, a sound both joyful and mournful, as if caught between worlds. Selene turned towards the source, her instincts sharpening. Eamon, Elias said quietly. Selene's heart quickened at the mention of the spectral scholar. Eamon had become an unexpected ally in her quest, his vast knowledge of the city's history and its spectral inhabitants invaluable. Yet he was as much enigma as aid, his own motives shrouded in mystery. We should go to him, Selene suggested. He might have answers we need. Elias hesitated, his gaze distant. Be wary, Selene. Eamon's thirst for knowledge is relentless. It can blind him to what truly matters. Selene offered a wry smile. Isn't that true for all of us? As they made their way through the twisting streets towards the ancient library where Eamon resided, Selene couldn't shake the feeling that every shadow held a secret waiting to be uncovered. The city's architecture loomed overhead, Gothic spires piercing the sky like skeletal fingers reaching for something unattainable. Upon reaching the library's entrance, a grand archway adorned with intricate ironwork, Selene paused to take in the sight before her. The building seemed alive in its own right, each stone imbued with memories of those who had walked its halls. Inside, Eamon awaited them amidst towering shelves of books and scrolls, his ghostly form flickering like candlelight in a drafty room. He greeted them with a nod, his eyes alight with curiosity. Selene, he said warmly, and Elias too. To what do I owe this unexpected visit? The Keeper's legacy, Selene replied without preamble. We need your insight. Eamon's expression shifted to one of intrigue. Ah, the legacy! A most fascinating topic indeed. He gestured towards a table covered in dusty tomes and yellowed parchment. Please join me. As they settled around the table, Eamon began to speak of legends and lore, tales woven into the very fabric of the city itself. His voice was melodic, each word carefully chosen as though casting a spell. The Keeper's legacy is said to be an artifact of great power, Eamon explained, a relic from an age when the lines between realms were not so firmly drawn. Selene listened intently, her mind racing with possibilities. And what does it do? That, Eamon replied with a hint of amusement, is part of its mystery. Some say it grants dominion over life and death, others believe it offers insight into one's true self. Elias interjected softly, but all agree it exacts a price. Eamon nodded gravely. Yes, a price indeed, one not easily paid. Silence fell over them like a shroud as they contemplated this revelation. The stakes were higher than Selene had imagined, yet she felt an undeniable pull towards the legacy, an instinctual drive she could not ignore. What do you intend to do? Eamon inquired, his gaze probing. I don't know yet, Selene admitted honestly, but I can't walk away. Elias placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, a gesture both grounding and comforting. Then we will face this together. The resolve in Elias's voice bolstered Selene's spirit, even as uncertainty gnawed at her edges. She knew that whatever path lay ahead would test her limits, both physical and moral. As they left Eamon's library behind and stepped back into the fog-draped streets once more, Selene felt a sense of purpose settle within her, a determination forged from equal parts fear and hope. In this shadowy city, where past and present danced an eternal waltz beneath moonlit skies, Selene's journey continued, a quest not just for answers but for redemption and connection amid echoes of lives long gone. Yet even as she pressed forward into unknown territory with Elias by her side and Iman's wisdom echoing in her mind, Selene could not shake one lingering question. Was she truly prepared for what awaited at journey's end? With every step she took deeper into this labyrinthine world where secrets lay hidden like treasures buried beneath layers of misty time, where fairies frolicked unseen beyond city bounds, the answer remained elusive and tantalizingly close at hand. But for now, for tonight, the legacy remained just out of reach. A promise whispered on winds that carried both laughter and lamentation across cobblestone avenues lined with gnarled trees whose branches reached ever outward like skeletal hands grasping at eternity itself. Chapter 31. The city's dawn broke with a subtle shift in the fog, the kind that barely registered to those accustomed to its constant embrace. Selene moved through the mist-cloaked streets, her steps echoing lightly against the cobblestones, each tap a note in an unseen symphony of whispers and sighs. She paused beneath a gnarled tree, its branches arching overhead like the ribs of some long-forgotten beast. The city was a living entity, its heart beating with the rhythm of past and present entwined. Elias Thorne stood at the edge of the square, his form almost indistinguishable from the shadows that clung to the alleyways. As Selene approached, he turned, his eyes reflecting a light that seemed to come from within rather than any external source. "You're early," he remarked, his voice low and resonant, carrying an undercurrent of timeless wisdom. Selene offered a faint smile. "I find the early hours clarifying." Elias nodded, his gaze drifting across the square where spectral figures flitted at the periphery of vision. "You've been restless." "It's this place," Selene replied, gesturing vaguely to the city around them. "Every corner holds a secret, every shadow a story. I feel as if I'm on the brink of something significant." "And yet," Elias prompted gently, knowing there was more. "And yet it eludes me," she admitted, frustration edging her words. "I keep searching for my true mate, but each path leads to more questions than answers." Elias studied her for a moment before speaking. "Perhaps the journey itself is meant to teach you something more profound than simply finding what you seek." Selene sighed, her breath visible in the chill morning air. "It's difficult to see it that way when each encounter ends in tragedy." "Tragedy and revelation often walk hand in hand," Elias mused. "It's how we choose to interpret them that defines our path." Their conversation was interrupted by a soft rustling, a whisper of movement from behind one of the towering spires. Eamon emerged from the shadows, his spectral form shimmering with an ethereal light that seemed to pulse with his thoughts. "Elias," Eamon greeted with a nod before turning to Selene. "I see your quest continues." "It does," she replied, her tone tinged with weariness. "And yet I feel no closer to understanding my place here." Eamon regarded her thoughtfully. "The city speaks in riddles, Selene. Each encounter is a piece of a larger puzzle, a tapestry woven from threads of fate and choice." Selene met his gaze, searching for answers in the depths of his spectral eyes. "But how do I know which threads to follow?" Eamon's lips quirked in a ghostly semblance of a smile. "Sometimes it's not about knowing which threads to follow, but trusting that each step you take is part of your journey," Elias interjected gently. "And perhaps learning to listen not just to the spirits, but to your own heart might guide you where logic cannot." Their words lingered in the air, heavy with implication and possibility. Selene felt the weight of their insights pressing upon her, a reminder that her journey was as much about self-discovery as it was about seeking connection. As they stood together in the square, the city's atmosphere shifted subtly once more, a promise of change carried on the breeze. Selene realized that her quest was not merely a search for another, but an exploration of herself, a path toward understanding her own desires and fears. With newfound resolve, she turned to Elias and Eamon. "Perhaps it's time I stopped viewing this journey as a series of trials and started seeing it as an opportunity for growth." Elias's expression softened with approval. A wise perspective. Eamon nodded in agreement, and one that might lead you closer to what you truly seek. The three of them lingered for a moment longer before parting ways, Elias disappearing into the shadows, Eamon returning to his spectral haunt within the library's ancient walls. Selene continued her walk through the labyrinthine city, each step now imbued with purpose and reflection. The fog began to lift slightly as if mirroring her own clarity of mind. She knew there were still many challenges ahead, but armed with the insights gleaned from her companions, she felt ready to face whatever lay beyond the next corner. As she moved forward into the unfolding dawn, Selene embraced the uncertainty that had once filled her with dread. It was no longer an obstacle, but a companion on her journey, a reminder that every mystery held within it the potential for discovery and transformation. And so, with determination etched into every stride, Selene set out to unravel the secrets of her world and herself, one whispered truth at a time. Chapter 32. The city seemed to breathe with the cadence of forgotten dreams and whispered secrets. As Selene navigated its cobblestone streets, the fog clung to her like a spectral shroud, each breath drawing in the essence of lives long extinguished. She moved with purpose, yet every step felt like a dance with shadows that threatened to pull her into their depths. Elias Thorne awaited her at the heart of the labyrinth, a place where the city's architecture twisted into an almost sentient formation, as if conspiring to keep its secrets from prying eyes. His presence was as enigmatic as the city itself, a figure both ethereal and tangible, caught between worlds. "Selene," Elias greeted her, his voice a soft echo against the chill air. "You look troubled." She paused, taking in his form. The Keeper of the Forgotten stood amidst the swirling mist, his features as elusive as the truths she sought. "Troubled? Perhaps," she replied, her voice tinged with weariness. "Or perhaps it's just the weight of another night spent wandering these streets." Elias's eyes glimmered with a knowing light. "The city has a way of drawing out what's hidden within us. Its whispers can be relentless." Selene nodded, her gaze drifting to the gnarled trees that lined the avenue, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands. "I've been thinking about our last conversation, about what it means to truly connect with someone." Elias tilted his head slightly, inviting her to continue. "It's this city," she said, gesturing to their surroundings. "Every corner holds a story, every shadow a memory. But what of those who inhabit it now? How do we bridge the gap between past and present?" A contemplative silence settled between them, broken only by the distant tolling of a bell, a sound that reverberated through the mist like an unanswered question. "You seek connection," Elias said finally, "but are you prepared for what it might reveal?" Selene met his gaze, feeling the weight of his words. "I don't know," she admitted, "but I can't stop searching." Elias smiled, a ghostly expression that flickered like the lanterns casting elongated shadows across their path. "Then let us continue this journey together." They walked side by side, their footsteps echoing softly against the cobblestones. Selene felt the city's pulse beneath her feet, a rhythmic beat that spoke of mysteries yet unraveled. As they approached an ancient library, Selene sensed another presence, a familiar whispering at the edges of her mind. Eamon, the spectral scholar whose restless spirit lingered amidst the tomes he once cherished. "Eamon," she called softly, her voice carrying through the stillness. A figure emerged from the shadows, his form shimmering like moonlight on water. Eamon's eyes held the same insatiable curiosity that had defined him in life. "Selene," he acknowledged with a nod. "And Elias, to what do I owe this visit?" Selene hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "I need your insight, Eamon, about a connection, one that transcends the boundaries of life and death." Eamon regarded her thoughtfully. "Ah, the eternal quest for understanding. It's a path fraught with peril and possibility." His words hung in the air, resonating with an unspoken truth. Selene knew that Eamon's own journey mirrored hers, a relentless pursuit of knowledge that often blinded him to emotional connections. "You speak of connection," Elias interjected gently, "but have you considered what you might lose in its pursuit?" Eamon's gaze shifted to Elias, his spectral form rippling with a hint of agitation. "Knowledge is never without cost," he replied, "but neither is ignorance." Selene watched their exchange, feeling the tension between them, a dance of philosophies that mirrored her own inner conflict. I don't want to lose myself, she said quietly. But I can't ignore this pull. Eamon's expression softened, and he stepped closer, his presence a comforting balm against her uncertainty. Perhaps the key lies not in resisting, but embracing both sides, finding balance between light and darkness. Selene absorbed his words, feeling their weight settle in her heart. In this city where fairies danced beyond sight and spirits lingered in forgotten corners, balance seemed an elusive goal. Their conversation continued late into the night, weaving through topics of fate and free will, love and loss. Each word exchanged was a thread in the tapestry of Selene's journey, a narrative shaped by dialogue and introspection. As dawn approached, casting a silvery sheen over the cityscape, Selene felt a sense of clarity amidst the ambiguity. Her path remained uncertain, but she knew she was not alone. Elias placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, his touch grounding her in the present moment. "Remember," he said softly, "the journey itself is as important as its destination." With those words echoing in her mind, Selene turned back toward the labyrinthine streets, her steps guided by moonlight and shadow alike. The architect's gift awaited, a revelation hidden within layers of mystery and memory. And though she could not yet see its shape or form, Selene felt its presence guiding her onward, an unseen hand leading her through the fog toward whatever truth lay ahead. As she ventured deeper into the city's heart, Selene carried with her the echoes of their conversations, the voices of those who had walked these streets before her, and knew that each step brought her closer to understanding both herself and this world where living and spectral were inseparably entwined. In this place where every shadow held a secret and every corner whispered stories untold, Selene embraced both light and darkness, each moment a gift from an unseen architect shaping her journey toward connection and redemption. And so she walked on, through mist and memory, toward whatever awaited beyond the next turn in this haunting quest for truth and belonging. Chapter 33. The cobblestones glistened with the sheen of recent rain, their surface reflecting the ghostly glow of flickering lanterns. Selene moved through the city like a shadow, her steps purposeful yet silent. The streets were deserted, save for the occasional rustle of unseen wings or the distant tolling of a bell that marked the passing of time in this spectral realm. "Elias," she murmured, her voice barely rising above the whisper of the wind. She knew he would hear her. He always did. The air shimmered, and Elias Thorne appeared beside her, his form as insubstantial as the mist that clung to the city. His presence was a comfort, a constant in a world where little else was certain. "Selene," he greeted, his tone as measured and deliberate as ever. "What troubles you tonight?" "I feel close," she replied, her gaze fixed on the horizon where the fog swallowed the city's edge. Yet every step forward feels like another step into darkness. Elias regarded her with a thoughtful gaze, his eyes holding centuries of wisdom. "The path is never straight, nor is it ever clear, but you must trust your instincts, even when they lead you astray." Selene sighed, her breath visible in the chill night air. "Instincts have led me to tragedy before. How do I know they won't again?" "Because you are not the same person you were then," Elias said gently. "Each encounter, each choice has shaped you. You are wiser now, more discerning." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden flutter of wings, and Selene turned to see a spectral figure hovering nearby. Eamon, the ghostly scholar whose presence was as much a part of the library as the books themselves. "Eamon," she acknowledged, nodding to the apparition. "What news do you bring?" Eamon's form flickered slightly, as if caught between worlds. "There are whispers among the spirits," he said, his voice carrying an ethereal quality that seemed to echo within itself. "A convergence is near, a moment where past and present may align." Selene's heart quickened at his words. A convergence could mean many things, but most importantly, it could be an opportunity, perhaps even the key to finding her true mate. "Where?" she pressed, her voice tinged with urgency. "The old cathedral," Eamon replied. "Midnight." Selene exchanged a glance with Elias, who nodded in silent agreement. The cathedral was a place steeped in history and mystery, a fitting stage for whatever awaited her. "Thank you, Eamon," Selene said, her gratitude sincere. "Will you join us?" The ghostly scholar shook his head, his expression one of resigned detachment. "I have my own matters to attend to, but I will watch from afar." With that, Eamon's form faded into the mist, leaving Selene and Elias alone once more. Midnight at the cathedral, Elias mused. A fitting place for revelations. Or deception, Selene countered, her skepticism evident. Elias chuckled softly. Indeed, but either way it will bring you closer to understanding. As they made their way toward the cathedral, the city's atmosphere grew thicker with anticipation. The fog seemed to pulse with energy, as if the very air held its breath in expectation of what was to come. Upon reaching the cathedral, Selene paused at the threshold. The massive doors loomed before her, their ironwork intricate and foreboding. She hesitated, feeling the weight of countless souls who had passed through these doors before her. "Are you ready?" Elias asked softly. Selene nodded, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead. Together, they pushed open the doors and stepped inside. The cathedral's interior was vast and shadowy, its vaulted ceilings stretching into darkness. Moonlight streamed through stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns on the stone floor. The silence was profound, broken only by the faint rustle of robes as Elias moved beside her. In the center of the nave stood a figure, a man whose presence seemed both familiar and alien. Selene's heart skipped a beat as she recognized him. A face from her dreams, yet one she could not name. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice echoing off the cathedral walls. The man turned slowly, his gaze meeting hers with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. "I am a reflection of what you seek," he replied cryptically. Selene's mind raced, questions tumbling over one another in a chaotic dance. Was this man her true mate, or merely another specter sent to test her resolve? Elias remained silent at her side, allowing Selene to navigate this encounter on her own terms. "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. The man's expression softened slightly, his eyes holding a mixture of sadness and longing. "To show you what lies beyond your search, what it means to truly connect." His words struck a chord within Selene, resonating with a truth she had long sought, but never fully grasped. "And if I refuse?" she challenged. "Then you will continue your journey alone," he replied simply. Selene glanced at Elias, seeking his counsel in this moment of uncertainty. His expression was unreadable, offering no guidance beyond what she already knew. Taking a deep breath, Selene turned back to the man before her. "Show me," she said quietly. The man's gaze softened further, and he extended a hand toward her, a gesture of invitation and promise. As Selene stepped forward to take his hand, she felt a surge of energy pass between them, a connection that transcended words and defied explanation. In that moment, she understood. This was not just about finding a mate, but about understanding herself and her place in this world where life and death intertwined so seamlessly. With this realization came clarity, a newfound sense of purpose that illuminated her path even amidst the shadows. As their hands touched, Selene felt herself enveloped in warmth and light, a sensation that filled her with hope and possibility. And as she stood there in the heart of the cathedral, surrounded by echoes of lives past and present, Selene knew that whatever lay ahead would be faced not with fear, but with courage, and perhaps even love. For in this dance between realms where every step held meaning beyond measure, she had found not only what she sought, but also what she needed most. Herself. Chapter 34. The fog lay thick over the cobblestones, a spectral blanket that muted the world into whispers. Selene moved through the mist, her steps soft and deliberate. The city around her seemed to breathe with an unseen life, its shadows deepening as if in anticipation of her passing. She paused beneath a gnarled tree, its branches clawing at the sky like skeletal fingers. Here, she listened, not with her ears, but with that unsettling gift that had both blessed and burdened her existence. A voice, delicate and distant, brushed against her consciousness. It was Elias Thorne, the keeper of the forgotten, his presence as familiar as the chill that lingered in the air. "Selene," he murmured, his tone carrying an urgency that belied his usual calm. "You tread a path fraught with choices. Are you prepared for what lies ahead?" Selene turned inward, seeking Elias in the depths of her mind where they often met. "Prepared?" she echoed, her voice a whisper carried by the wind. "Is anyone ever truly prepared for the unknown?" Elias's form coalesced beside her, a figure woven from shadows and memory. His eyes, pools of reflective sorrow, met hers with a weight of centuries. The unknown is but a mirror to our fears, he said softly. Yet it is also where truth resides. Selene nodded, absorbing his words like a balm to her restless soul. Her journey through this labyrinthine city was one of seeking not just for her true mate, but for understanding amidst the tangled web of life and death. Each encounter left echoes in her wake, spectral remnants that clung to her like cobwebs. Their dialogue flowed seamlessly into silence, a comfortable pause filled with the city's ambient murmurs. Selene's thoughts drifted to Eamon, the spectral scholar bound to the ancient library, a repository of wisdom and secrets both arcane and mundane. His presence had become a cornerstone in her quest, his insights illuminating paths she might have otherwise overlooked. As if summoned by thought alone, Eamon's voice resonated within her mind, rich with intellectual fervor. "Selene," he greeted, his tone laced with curiosity. "What revelations do you seek today? Perhaps another debate on the nature of existence?" A smile tugged at Selene's lips despite the gravity of her journey. "Always eager for discourse, Eamon," she replied. "But today I seek clarity on a more personal matter." "Ah," Eamon mused, his spectral form flickering into view near the library's grand facade. "The heart is a labyrinth unto itself, one even more complex than these streets we wander." Selene approached him, her steps echoing softly against the cobblestones. "Indeed," she agreed. "I've been grappling with questions of fate and free will. Each spirit I encounter leaves me pondering whether my actions are my own or dictated by forces beyond comprehension." Eamon's gaze met hers, a blend of empathy and scholarly intrigue. "Our choices shape us as much as we shape them," he offered thoughtfully. "Yet we must ask ourselves, are we truly free agents in this dance of destiny?" Selene considered his words, feeling their weight settle into her bones. Her ability to commune with spirits had given her glimpses into lives once lived and lives cut short. Each interaction was a puzzle piece in a larger mosaic she struggled to complete. "Do you believe in destiny, Eamon?" she asked quietly. His response was measured, each word deliberate. "I believe in possibilities," he said, "in paths converging and diverging like rivers flowing toward an unseen ocean." Their conversation paused as Selene absorbed this analogy, envisioning her own journey as one among countless tributaries, each choice a ripple affecting others in unseen ways. Elias rejoined them then, his presence a gentle nudge back to the present moment. "Selene," he began, his voice tinged with caution, "you must remember that your quest is not without consequence." She nodded, acknowledging the truth she could not deny. Her relentless pursuit had left marks on those she encountered, marks that could not be erased by mere intention. "I understand," she replied somberly. "But what of connection? How does one find it amidst so much uncertainty?" Elias's gaze softened as he regarded her, a mentor seeing both potential and peril in his charge. "Connection is found not in certainty, but in vulnerability," he said gently, "in opening oneself to others despite the risks involved." A silence settled over them once more, a silence pregnant with unspoken understanding and shared purpose. As Selene prepared to continue her journey through this shadowy city where past and present intertwined like tendrils of mist, she felt a renewed sense of resolve, a determination to face whatever lay ahead with courage and compassion. Her path remained shrouded in mystery, an intricate tapestry woven from threads of light and darkness, but she no longer walked it alone. With Elias as her guide and Eamon as her intellectual companion, Selene ventured deeper into the city's heart, a place where every corner held secrets yet untold, and every shadow whispered stories, waiting for a voice to bring them to life once more. And so she stepped forward, into the whispering shadows that beckoned her onward, determined to forge a connection that transcended time and space, a connection that might finally reveal what it meant to be truly alive, amidst a world where living and spectral danced eternally, side by side. Thank you for listening to My Ghostwriter.